it cuts quite like a memory, especially one that you're trying to forget. But I can't find the energy to rewind and reset.
And I can't stop thinking about you, but what you gonna do? And And you know I'm feeling good like that. So what you gonna do? And I can't stop thinking about you. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Welcome here, everyone. We are set to go for week number 6 of the NECC League of Legends divisions. It's been a very, very exciting time as we are heading closer and closer towards that playoff spot. Keep in mind, we are in week 6 of week 8 until we hit that playoff run. That's going to be the interesting part. I'm very, very excited to dive on in here today. My name is Orbital. With me is the best minion to ever wander off the Rift. It is Random Minion Cassie, who I might soon lose to the Rift that is bound to occur in just about a day. RMC, how you doing?
Fair enough. Orbital. For now, I am still firmly on Summoner's Rift, if we're talking Rift here, and specifically, we're here for NECC on the Summoner's Rift, and we've got ourselves a Division 3 game in the West Central B Division. And Orbital, it's between two very exciting teams, two undefeated teams within this division.
That's the best part. We got South Dakota School of Mines and Technology from Rapid City, South Dakota, which I am amazed I even said that correctly. And then, of course, we have on the other side University of Tulsa from Tulsa, Oklahoma. As you mentioned, both currently undefeated. University of Tulsa sitting at a 4-0 series record at an 8-2 game record. And the reason I bring that up is because on the other side of the map, South Dakota is currently 5-0 in series score at 10-1 on the game record.
Yeah, it's worth noting, of course, that the Hurricanes are currently a series behind. They have rescheduled a match for later this week as well. So they are trailing one series behind Hard Rocker Varsity there. But still, these two teams undefeated right now in terms of series score. And it's funny because when I reached out to Hard Rocker a little bit and kind of talked to them, they did say despite the fact they are 5-0, despite the fact they've only lost one game, within the game, some of these games have been pretty close. They're not, they're not resting their laurels. They're not feeling too, proud of themselves necessarily. They're happy with their performance, but they are still remaining humble and treating every game really hard. Unfortunately for them, though, they're a team who has had struggles. They've had problems with their rosters. They've had problems, with performing up to standard. And tonight, they're having another problem overall. Their mid laner, their highest ranked solo queue player on their team, Genesis, will not be playing, and subbing in will be Elusive instead. And hey, Elusive's a good player as well, Emerald level player. But the problem is, I'm not sure Elusive is a mid lane player. So Hard Rocker still getting some hard knocks.
Yeah, you saw some of the players, but to go through them once again, we got Elusive in the mid lane for Hard Rocker Varsity, and then it's Atsuo on the top side, Wet Dog in that jungle role. ADC is MX Compton, and then at that support role for Hard Rocker is Bochi. Of course, for Tulsa Hurricanes on the top side, we got Meme Boys, which is the best thing ever. If they get a score of 6-7, I'll be very impressed. Jungler is TCK 2167. There's your 6-7 for you. Mid is Linamoso, and then at ADC is Saishi, who is going to be very, very fun watching in that ADC position. She's been doing very well for herself. And then in the support role is Dory. Looking at this, though, I'm very interested to see what exactly the drafts are going to be, because we're headed right on into it with, of course, the side of Tulsa over there on the red.
Okay, so that is interesting that Tulsa are going to be on the red side. I don't quite know who actually got to pick side selection, but Div 3 is still full fearless. And Orbital, we got to talk a little bit about the champ pools, because there's actually not a lot of overlap between these teams. Both junglers, have very different champion pools and what they like to play. The bot laners have some overlap, but the AD carry pool has always been quite small. The mid laners, Ninamoso tends to favor traditional mages, whereas Elusive, like we said, not really a mid lane player. I'm not sure what quite his champ pool is going to be. In the top lane, there is a little bit of overlap. Mbessa and Cassante both being played by both top laners. So right away, oddly enough, it is going to be the Hard Rockers taking out Mbessa despite the fact they have first pick.
Yeah, it's maybe they are going for a little bit of a different comfort style. We do see this a lot of the time whenever you're angling towards a very specific lane and you're saying, okay, we understand the factor that we are giving up a ban for this current position, but we just can't let it fall into enemy side. So to say whether it's going to be good or bad is yet to be determined, I think, at the end of the day. For, of course, Tulsa, the Hurricanes opted into the Gwen and the Graves, with honestly being now a red side ban, Graves being one of those junglers that actually got a huge buff recently. A lot of my jungle friends were talking about the fact that they are able to get so much magic resist now in that passive as well.
And with the Graves ban, especially, both Bran and Graves are things that Wet Dog has played, but I think it was up against Kansas Crimson, the one game that the Hurricanes kind of lost on record. His Graves went 16-2-5, so really respecting what he can do with that one. And it looks like we're going to see the Hard Rockers here with a not necessarily the biggest carry in terms of jungles. Xinjiao really good at kind of being that frontline forward team, but he does get rolling fairly early on. He has a lot of impact early.
Not only that, we did see, half of Yunara come out to play, but the Udyr and the Brand, these two also banned away. Udyr being a very high priority for Wet Dog specifically, who has actually played that a few times, but didn't want to give it over possibly to TCK, who also has it in the solo queue. Yunara and the Orianna, though, these are two high priority champions currently in the meta. Orianna, obviously the go-to mid laner, and for a lot of people, you don't want to give it over to the likes of a J4, to the likes of a Xin Zhao, but the scaling is coming out to play the Smolder, to play for Hard Rocker, as they themselves are saying, we're looking towards that late game, and once late game hits, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, and I like the pickup for Smolder there as well for Compton potentially, because Compton is the veteran on this team. He's the captain of the team, and he's somebody you can kind of rely on when it gets kind of tough. Now, it is on Wet Dog to kind of get the ball rolling early, though, and making sure Compton can actually get to that scaling state with the Smolder. Aurora getting picked up as well is a flex pick. It could go top, it could go mid, so we're not quite sure whether Atso or Elusive is going to be piloting that one there. And for Hurricanes, very, very standard team fighting composition coming through already. You know, I got to speak to them. They do talk very highly about team play among themselves. So seeing this sort of composition come through makes a lot of sense. You've got the Wukong Oriana synergy. That's great engage, great team fight, great wombo combo. You've got Yunara already. I think to round that out, they're still looking for a top lane and support. And in the current meta, top lane will probably be a bruiser. The support, I'd like to see something a bit tankier with engage power.
Yeah, you're looking at that Rel, looking at maybe that Nautilus if you really have to dig deep. The Leona, I believe, is played by both of these support players, so it's an opportunity to be made. Looking at that top side, though, Mega Band's going out there as we go ahead and see that Mordekaiser and the Malphite, my favorite M&Ms up there. The Braum, though, focus on the bottom side here, the Hard Rocker squad, saying, okay, we do want to make sure our captain's actually very safe, which when we talk about this fact that for the Hard Rockers, they might be working with a little different play, not only do you want your bottom, your ADC to feel comfortable, you want a much stronger matchup in there. So I like the Lulu and the Braum band away there.
Yeah, with the Lulu taken away as well. Yeah, considering that we talked about Mbessa and Cassante, and Mbessa's being banned, Cassante is being picked up right away by Meme Boys up there. I'm actually not sure if it's Meme Boys the second. There's like two eyes after that, right? Like, Meme Boys the second sounds funnier. But yeah, with the Cassante as well, you don't need another tank in the support role anymore. You've got the engage coming through from the Wukong already, so you could afford to go a little bit more with the enchanters in the bot side. Yes, Lulu got taken away, but personally I think Janna is still really strong, and Soraka has some interesting abilities that she can do to kind of deal with what we're seeing through from the Hard Rockers right now. Having that silence will mess up a lot of their combos.
Well, what we do see is, again, that standard front to back being built up by the Hard Rockers, specifically as the Scion and the Karma were both locked in. Very nice floaty composition here. The Milio to try and deny and say, hey, if you chase us, we're going to punt you away. I don't dislike it. However, it's not the engage that we're really hoping for. It's not the Nautilus, it's not that Rel. It is both flighty supports that are willing to amp up their team for those team fights.
And with Milio, one of the big things about him is that he can extend your range with his abilities, right? So perhaps it feels like Hurricane's trying to match Smolder later on, increase that range of Yunara, play a little bit from safety. The Milio is a very interesting pick, and the fact that he can kind of cleanse your team as well. So not the support I was necessarily thinking of, but I can see how it might work with the composition. Again, it's being allowed and facilitated by this Cassante they picked up. Whereas for Hard Rockers, I'm liking the Karma a lot more. Very lane dominant, right? She can bully people out. She buys that Smolder time to skill up, like we were talking about. We're looking at Wet Dog initially, but you know, now Bochi can help out as well. And Bochi's going to do a lot of work roaming with Wet Dog. Any sort of enchanter with Xin really allows him to be that huge early skirmish bully. So expect to see Bochi at some of those early skirmishes. You talked about the front line that came through with Atso's Scion as well. I think Hard Rocker, the adaptation for them, it's a really strong team fighting composition. They just have to keep Compton and Elusive alive, and that's going to be the big ask, the big question mark. If they're anywhere near each other, expect to see TCK go diving in with that Wukong. If he gets the knock up on them, there's going to be an instant shockwave to follow, and with just that burst alone, it's probably going to be enough to take out the Aurora and Smolder, or at least force them way out of the fight.
Yeah, make sure they take a beating in more ways than one, and that to me is going to be the very interesting part. Both teams currently undefeated in series record, and it does mean one of them will have to take that L at the end of the day. Speaking of beating, sometimes your eyes do strain a little bit too hard, so gamers, your eyes will be covered if you go ahead and check out Blue Light, because the glasses are so cool. The premium Blue Light glasses keep you sharp, focused, and ready for victory without the eye strain. Level up your game and protect your vision. Please go ahead and check out Buy Blue Light today, the official eye care partner of the NECC. That is BYE bluelight.com. Go ahead, check them out. Please go ahead and see some support in there as well, because I know I need some new glasses eventually. But going back to it, I want to call out the fact that once again, this composition I think is okay, but it is going to be interesting if it is elusive in that mid lane, as you were mentioning before with the Aurora. And I really, really want to pull eyes into that focus, specifically because for Hard Rocker, if this is going to be you placing elusive in there, how well do you think the Aurora fits with the rest of the comp? Because I know you were talking about, for the side of Tulsa Hurricanes, hey, that Wukong, that Orianna is going to bop you on the head. It's going to be a rough time. The Aurora is going to fall behind. But just with Elusive in the mid lane, what do we want to see from this Aurora specifically if we're looking at, say, keeping this win streak alive for Hard Rocker with the sub?
Yeah, fair enough. I do feel like the mid lane is one of the biggest differences between how the compositions want to operate. With the Orianna, it's all about that shockwave, big AoE team setup, or being set up by your team for that one big moment. Whereas with Aurora, she's not so much about the AoE. She is still about the burst, but it's about kind of catching people out before the fight, just bursting down squishy targets. Heck, you can even sometimes take out a Wukong quite quickly as well once you get a couple of items under your belt. So if anything, it really does test Elusive's hands in the mid lane if he's the one piloting this Aurora. If he's the one who has to kind of make that happen, he's not relying on the team, he's not about the team fight. If he can't generate picks on his own, it makes the game a lot harder for Hard Rocker. I'm not saying it can't be done, just that there's a chance that your front line will have to bear a lot more burden if you're waiting for your front line to engage and then trying to play the Aurora in the chaos rather than as a pick champion. So a lot of responsibility on Elusive's shoulders for tapping in as a sub in this game. And if Hard Rocker can pull it off, it's really good for them in the series as well, in this game one. It is a best of 3, so you can afford to go to one game down. But if Elusive can kind of get in there, replace Genesis with no problems and still be a massive threat, I don't know if Hurricanes will be able to really prepare or do anything to deal with him, because his champion pool, what he plays in solo queue, is not a mid lane pool. So you don't know what else he's got in his back pocket.
It really is that kind of outside angle of this dude's a curveball and a half. Like, we are sending this off into no man's land. So that to me is going to be my main point to kind of watch for, is this mid lane. As you said, very, very interesting to keep eyes out for. On the flip, though, looking at for the Hurricanes specifically, I want to see if their bot lane can hold up. I love Yunara as a champion. Yunara has always been one that I've always enjoyed watching, especially with the amped up. You see a lot of that outplay potential. But the fact that you paired it with Amelia, the one that we were kind of sitting there going, for Dory, is this going to be enough, right? We wanted a little bit more engage. We wanted a little bit more flow with the rest of the team. And this is another 4-0 team. We know they have the hands, but how well can you match up against basically the first seed where you're sitting at the second seed position? Do we see the Yunara and this Milio having a good time here in the bot side?
Honestly, in the laning phase, I'm a little bit concerned about that, because Karma, we talked about, is a bit of a lane bully. But seeing how Hurricanes have played some of their matches, I don't necessarily think it is about laning in the early stages of the game. Sage is a lot about more late game team fighting. She's often picks a lot of these scaling champions, things like the Jinx, the Sivir, utility Ashe. Yunara is another scaling pick to come through. So I think for Dory and Sage here, they're just trying to survive the early game more than anything else. I don't expect them to take over. And then later on in the team fights, that's when I expect them to pop off, which is why I'm a little bit concerned when I see the Smolder on the other side, because Yunara scales, but Smolder scales better, arguably infinitely.
Yeah, that's what I was... Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, I don't know if we want to talk about late game with the Smolder, like, any time of the day. Like, I don't know if you're ever matched with it, so it's like, that's why I want to bring it up. Is it going to be enough? However, I do agree with you. With the game plans in the past, this is, I feel like, the clash, right? If you are looking at undefeated on either end, it really is, have you been tested? And when you were talking with them, I think you mentioned about Hard Rocker, it was interesting to hear that they have had some stumbling blocks in the series that they have won. There have been some struggles uphill a little bit, and the fact that the Hurricanes are coming out with a composition where we already saw in draft that maybe it doesn't work towards that late game. They are very confident, it feels like, in their own play. They're saying, hey, we are going to play our champions, we're going to play our comfortability, we're going to try our own style, and it's not going to stop us from facing off against the other undefeated squad in this division.
Yeah, and for Hard Rocker, we talked about the fact that they've had a lot of struggles. They are not new to the NECC. Heck, they're not even new to the League of Legends division. They have technically played it before, and they had a lot of roster issues in the past. So, in a way, the team has experience with problems and subbing people in and out, I guess, and I'm hoping that works out for them. And that they're kind of able to step in, because Genesis was a fundamental core part of the team as well. Wet Dog and Genesis were a lot of their big playmakers for them. So Wet Dog is still in there. That means the early game playmaking should still be there. But Genesis like to play things like Silas, like Victor, like Kassadin, champions that would scale up and be that huge late game threat. And Aurora, she does scale decently. She's still got a lot of damage, but she's not quite the same as Win in terms of win conditions, or like Victor in terms of what he's able to pump out in these team fights, get those Chaos Storms rolling and really just taking over a fight right from the get-go. So a bit tougher for them. Hurricanes on the other side, we should talk a little bit about them as well because when I spoke to them, they didn't really say they had a standout player. Like they value team play a lot, but their coach is somebody I do want to highlight. Fear Turbo kind of picked up to coach this Hurricanes team. He's not from the University of Tulsa. He's actually from the Arkansas State University, where he has played in NECC as a player in the past, as a support player, and he's won. More importantly, Orbital, he's actually won his divisions. He knows how to win, and that's why he was brought in to do that. And I like the idea. I like the concept. I like teams that focus more on teamwork. Not necessarily on having standout players. Again, sometimes you don't have the option of standout players. And I'm curious to see for Hurricanes who's the hero here. Because throughout the 5 weeks they played prior to this, everybody has had their carry games, right? Dory's had some amazing engages. Sage has been the big team fight carries in quite a few games later on. Lino Moso as well has popped off in the mid lane, especially with TCK. TCK often driving their early game. And Mean Boys is a player on the top side who can carry. On the Casante, like you said, Casante can carry, but I don't think of him as a carry player or a carry champion necessarily. But he has other things like the Investor we talked about. He plays things like Jace, like Aatrox that can be the focal points, can be the ones who take over.
Well, listen, as much as we talk the talk, we got to walk the walk as the teams are on to the Rift. We got the Hurricanes versus the Hard Rockers, undefeated squads and hoping to make their mark and more here in the Division 3 West Central B side of things. Let's dive on in for this BO3 RMC. It looks to be fairly quiet. 5 point for the side of the Hard Rockers, just not going too crazy. And they did put Elusive into the mid lane. I know we were kind of floating it. We were expecting it 90%, but to see it fully confirmed will kind of be an interesting test.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Elusive, at least in solo queue, doesn't look that much like a mid laner. He's got some support games, some top games as well. Now, Elusive and Wet Dog just walking in there, getting vision. They did spot Mean Boys out, and I do believe that Compton also spotted the Hurricanes kind of just walking in there. So just trading vision. It's actually a really even start, all things considered.
Not even a skill shot tossed either. These have been extremely quiet, which I think shows the level of respect that both teams have for each other. One of the things that I love watching are teams that actively try and get in each other's face, try and mess up each other's jungle routings, especially if you know you have a stronger lane or anything like that. Instead, it is very much the walk away, play our own game. Don't allow our own almost timing to be off kilter. Don't allow yourself to be put into a worse state where you're almost I want to say hard scrambling for your pace of play, as we see both junglers starting off on their blue bus and taking their time around their jungle.
Yeah, lane's looking pretty even for the most part right now. Nothing too crazy. We're not seeing a reach trade. They're just letting the waves kind of push back and forth as expected. Sage and Dory kind of losing out a little bit in the early game. Expect to see Bochi step up aggressively. Bochi's an interesting player too, because for Hard Rockers, Bochi's actually a Hecarim one trick. He had to train him into the support role, teach him all these champions as well, and he's done a fantastic job, especially I think on engaged champions. I'm curious to see how he pilots this Karma. But at least so far in the early game, he's doing his job. He's zoning out the Yunara, he's zoning out the Milio, he's making sure that they have to last hit under turret and most likely will miss some of that CS.
I wonder if this is playing into the fact that you just noticed the Wukong on the top side. You recognize where the pathing is right now, so you can play a lot more aggressive. You can play a little bit more in their face. If that were true, that works out very well in their favor, because as we mentioned, for the Hurricanes, they are wanting to play a little bit more reserved. They are wanting to scale in, even if they are against the mega scaler himself in that Smolder. However, for the current pace of play, good timing by both junglers. They are going to be inside of those river points at about 3:30. Eyes out as Bochi gets caught out in that frontal side bush. He just eats a lot of damage, misses out on that Q, so that is going to be Dory, and that is not just the main name Yunara, that is Sage, just on a streamer mode, unfortunately.
Yes, true. I actually don't know what Sage... I remember Sage has something to do with water. So I think it matches that she would pick Yunara. I don't quite remember the definition of what Sage is. Something perhaps to look out between games. But talking about Bochi, they're eating a little bit of damage. But with the shield, you can see Bochi's almost back to full health with just basic health regen. So kind of happy with how that's going. Elusive gets a good trade-off, the full 3-pop, and evens up. Before that, Linomoso was doing a good job kind of just trading with autos and winning out with the Clockwork passive.
Yeah, it's just going to be a little bit of time as Lino. Again, this Oriana is such a nice in-between that you can almost see TCK willing to kind of wait off on the side, looking to try and get a jump on Elusive, who once again is sitting there in that subspace, but not wanting to fully take it. That's Solo up on the top side though, eating a lot of extra damage as a Scion probably will against a Consante, so Mean Boys is doing quite well for themselves up there.
Yeah, and we talked about how both Consante and Abessa are sort of heavily prio champion, Elusive.
Okay, so both of them very, very low, and that was a mana. You
Oh, he messed
minion,
up!
unfortunately. So Elusive has to run, but there's no mana in Lino, so both mid laners dancing the fine line of death, and neither really getting much after both burn Flash.
Yeah, Flash is being traded like that. Elusive looked like he was in such a good position, able to once again trigger the big burst of damage to come through, but I think he kind of missed a little bit on the auto, and Linomoso getting away with it. One thing we should highlight as well is Linomoso didn't start with a Duran's item. He started straight up with a Tear of the Goddess, so he's stacking that. He doesn't have any combat stats, so he was really kind of daring Elusive, saying, no, I think I can outplay you in lane, and he almost got punished for it. But he didn't, Orbital, and that gets him that advantage. He's going to be ahead in terms of the build curve.
He's going to feel real good on that pacing, as you mentioned. So let's see if it works out in their favor. Of course, with both Flashes down now means that mid lane is a little bit more available, as either jungler could be looking for that gank. Level 5 on both of them. Neither has really made a hard cheat into looking for those lane aspects. Instead, they've been very, very focused on their own pathing to hit those breakpoints. Dragon currently started up by Wet Dog, who is actively chasing and gets a little bit of a ping out saying, guys, make sure to cover my backside. Of course, TCK is all the way up on the top side of the map, so really no chance of an aggression back.
And for the Hard Rockers, they're in a good position to sneak this Dragon anyways. Compton and Bochi have been perma pushing on that bot side. They have that prio. They're kind of good to go. And they know that the timing as well, that TCK won't be quite at that level 6. Wukong really wants to just power farm and unlock the Cyclone before he becomes a force on the map. So, if anything, I think TCK is actually fine with this, right? Wet Dog's not been able to get any sort of early traction going. So might be a bit of bother here. There is a ward, so they know TCK is there. There is the Scion passive as well, but there's no more unstoppable onslaught.
No, when you mentioned that, Suo is always in kind of that position to be on the weaker side of the map. Says, hey, I'm going to try and get some help. TCK flashes underneath the tower, though, and is going to eat 2 tower shots. Is it going to be enough? One more wall up on the back of the head is there. And now comes the Between Worlds opportunity as Elusive TP'd in. It's still a double kill, though, for Atsuo. Really well played by SDM.
And that's really important for Atsuo as well, because he was struggling in lane. Look at that CS differential. Mean Boys was double his CS at that point. And one of the points we tried to raise earlier was the fact that Ambessa Consante was expected to be contested within this matchup. Mean Boys got his hands on it. He's very comfortable on the champion, knows how to bully out with it, and was definitely dominating that. Now, Elusive did have to burn teleport up there, so Linomoso does get a little bit of an advantage in that mid lane for now. It won't be that significant, though, and I expect to see them swap back soon enough. Mean Boys as well. Look at his build. This is interesting. Double chainmail into the Scion. I did not expect to see that. But hey, it kind of works, and it will allow them to turret dive, I think, a little bit more effectively next time.
Yeah, but after losing in a 1-2, I mean, I don't know if you're going to feel that comfortable pulling that tower dive. Instead, I'd almost say, hey, just let Mean Boys play in the 1v1 and feel comfortable with the CS advantage. You don't have to dive and possibly give another 2 kills over unless you're looking for the plate value or anything like that. But again, that is just me. I do like the idea, though, that Mean Boys is setting up and saying, let's try it one more time. However, we do see the lane swaps coming out. It is going to be those grubs up in about 10 seconds, so it makes sense that we are seeing that shift from all the teams.
Yeah, and for Mean Boys, he's going to be pretty happy if he does have to line up against a Smolder with double chainmail. That's a lot of armor into that AD. Wet Dog starting up the grubs, and they see this on the side of the Hurricanes. They've got to give one over, and do they want to commit? Cyclone is available. Shockwave is available.
Everything is there to play for. Atsuo on the backside, getting jumped on here, but Wet Dog trying to jump onto that clone Wukong. Is going to be a nut. TCK on the other side. They're running rampant. Flash in. Crescent Guard is available. Shockwave pulls you back, but it doesn't really do any damage. So it's still a trade out of a 1-for-1. Now another unstoppable onslaught as the flash away from Dory, but Dory leaves themselves out to dry as this is SDM. The Hard Rockers making it hard to run away. Linomoso trying their best to skate away from danger. They were able to avoid the knockup. Another tether, though, will slow you down. And the Between Worlds damage rocks out as Elusive ramps it up, and Atsuo is on a killing spree.
And overall, we talked about team play coming through from the Hard Rockers here, and it looked really good, actually, coming through from them. They were the team I expected, to rely a little bit more on just individual mechanics, but I love the way they played that fight because Wet Dog goes in. And he was the one charging in. I was thinking, okay, now let's see how he plays this, right? With the Crescent Guard, he actually blocked the bulk of the damage coming through early. Shockwave only hit him, and it didn't even do that much damage. Meanwhile, Seish and Dory kind of had to walk through Atsuo there and got caught out. They walked right into that decimating smash. They got massively delayed, and they weren't even doing damage to the Scion. They were just trying to get to the fight. So Hard Rockers, they get a massive advantage off of that. They get all 3 Void Grubs, or pardon me, they got 2 of the Void Grubs. They've left 1 standing, but it still counts as far as objectives goes for the feat of monster slaying.
And I'll also say really big props to Atsuo. Atsuo is one that we kind of had our eyes on as, are you going to be able to withstand the test? You mentioned about him kind of punching above his weight class here, and so far, he's answered the call immaculately. Now, granted, that was on the side of the Hurricanes kind of giving it over a little bit, but still, to stand up and be able to still play very, very hard in the paint with the Scion makes me very, very excited for what the mid-game could bring when the Scion fully stacked, fully online, and fully finished with the Cull.
Yeah, true. Atsuo picking up that call after getting dove early. He's really trying to just look to scale. He was comfortable, falling behind in CS. He's just trying to kind of make up for that. But I think in the sort of 1v2 situation, if anything, it benefits the Hard Rockers. So Atsuo more than happy to kind of just soak up that top wave right now. Did unfortunately miss CS right there. And Seish and Dory now, they already lost out the Grubs top side. They're rotating back to the bot side. They want to get the 1v1. They want Meme Boys to go back into that comfortable matchup.
Right now, there's another piece of Lunamoso needs to get to that blast cone ASAP. Flashes away instead, and that feels so bad. Considering Dragon's coming up, Mizo flash Shockwave. And I don't know if the Hurricanes are going to be real excited to try and play for this one.
Yeah, it's going to be real risky. They don't have vision either. They're trying to fight for vision with the control ward, but Bochi, we talked about this Karma. In lane, he was already doing a pretty good job, but Seish and Dory, I think, got used to the trade patterns. But right now, he's zoning them out once again, getting a lot of efficiency here.
And that's a double pink investment as well. I'm really not sure why you're trying to fight over this when you've already understood that it might not be available. Instead, now you chase on in. Is that enough? Yes, it is! I lied! TCK is what a god! Between Worlds, though, is going to break on out. In comes Mon to play. But the side is a little bit late. Dash to the other side, though, as Meme Boy said. We can still battle, however. Now the tank comes in. Meme Boy's into the back line, though. Blades are out as the all-out can wreak havoc. Another double knockup, though. He's out! Compton is still alive. TCK finally takes him down. Meme Boys and TCK, though, said your lives are forfeit for the aggression of taking that Drake. We take that away. It's just a meatball versus a bamboo stick. And I don't know if either wants the rest of that fight. That's the final zone. TCK starts to steal and ends with the team wipe.
Oh man, I can't believe what we just saw. It was truly like a hurricane orbital. It took my breath away, and it was TCK starting the action off, going for that steal, and he gets the steal. I already thought, okay, well, Hurricanes are not in position. They're going in blind, but the chaos TCK caused was enough. And unfortunately for Wet Dog, he was left a little bit to dry. They want to get the dragon and then recommit to the fight after. And both teams committed to that fight 100%. Nobody left, right? Even when Atsuo walked away, it was just to set up a decimating smash. And you called it a bamboo stick orbital. Well, take it from an Asian. That hurts, those bamboo sticks. You just need to hit hard enough with it.
That's why I called it one. It hurts. I know. I've gotten smacked with it one too many times. I know that feeling. But the fact that I did not respect TCK, I am so sorry. I did not know your game. And that means the Hurricanes are right back into this. We saw kind of that sliding away. It wasn't fully away from them. But the fact that Atsuo was able to get a couple kills on the top side, the fact that we saw some of that scaling come through, the fact that Compton in all of that almost lived, by the way. Barely got smacked at the end by TCK. If Compton had lived, I wonder if that would have been even better. Either way, though, they're right back into it. We're looking at 100 gold difference with the 2 kill difference between the two. This is well within a very narrow game still.
I'm curious if we could get the gold differentials or the exact gold amounts, because that's 7 kills into TCK, right? Like, TCK is holding 100% of Hurricane's kills, and that means he's got a lot of gold. So that 100 gold is a little bit fake. It's in the hands of the playmaker. Wet Dog going for Lunamoso.
And that might be the chance, but the shockwave lands on two. Elusive bouncing away, though, at just the right time. You know what? You might be a support, but at this time, this is your spotlight. Very well done here in the mid lane. As CCK is going to try and round out again. Wet Dog, though, dances away with the flash and gives Elusive their third of the game. Well played between this makeshift battery.
I've heard that bear baiting is illegal in some states in the US. But I don't know if monkey baiting is illegal in any of those states. And certainly coming through in South Dakota, they looked real smooth with that one between Elusive and Wet Dog. TCK has a lot of damage. We're talking about how he's so far ahead. It doesn't matter. They played him perfectly. Now Atso dragged out from under the safety of his turret. He's so tanky. Does Mean Boys have enough to kill him?
Yes, absolutely yes. I don't know if you met a Cassante before, and one that Mean Boy has played, what, 3 times so far, I think? You know what, I give credit. I'm never going to disregard and disrespect a Cassante. I already did that with a Wukong RMC. I don't know if I want to do that with a Cassante of all things. Either way, Atsuo still 4-2-2, not doing terribly, but again, that CS lead is going to creep ever further in this game in favor of Mean Boys.
Yeah, bro. We talked a lot about how the gold's distributed on the side of the Hurricanes, but for the Hard Rockers right now, you highlight that 4-2-2. That means Atsuo actually has the most kills on his team. It does make up for the CS differential that he's in, which is a 50 CS deficit, which is pretty big. But it's also on your tank, which means it's not on your carries, unfortunately. Elusive is up, which is really, really good. Compton is up. They've both been farming up a Storm. And I guess that's kind of what's keeping them ahead and making this fight, this Herald, really, really scary. The Hurricane's going to Hail Mary this again. TCK this time, no flash. Doesn't want to risk it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. It's a Herald. It's a temporary boon to be had. I think TCK is just more like, I want the stuff that's going to be there forever. I want my name immortalized at the top of the battlefield. And you know what? I agree. Don't risk your life for a Herald that may or may not grant you boons. Now granted, I don't even know if you're going to be diving for the dragon as well, considering it's a cloud at the end of the day. Not the most explosive dragon out there, but it is one that you will like to have in your back pocket if you're trying to run away.
I love we're talking about like TCK, picking the long-lasting buffs instead of, going for a Herald. And bro is in there just doing away chickens.
Listen, gold is forever. I don't know what you're talking about. Gold in XP, that's absolutely forever. Bochi, though, saying, look, we can play with this one. Wet Dog is currently in the bush. I don't think spotted out as well. TCK is going to slow it down, but there was a little bit of miscommunication. Wet Dog jumps on in. That means TCK gets to the back line. Both mid laners trying to jump into the mix as well, as this is looking like a party and a half. Out comes Mom, but it's SCM that can't really find out, so the Hard Rockers have to wait for the soft battle, which is Elusive sneaking in and ult yet again. The substitute turns the battle around in a complete 180 motion. Out goes another for the fire. That's just Elusive with a double kill. Get your mark, my man. That is Elusive with a triple at the end in the bot lane.
Genesis better be watching his spot right now. That's all I'm saying. Elusive popping off here. 6 kills, a triple on that bot side play, and huge props to Prompton as well. I love that flash route from Compton. Getting that extra damage onto Sage, onto Dory was what set up those kills. And right now, the Hard Rockers are looking good. The substitution is not slowing them down whatsoever. Instead, they're looking better.
What? How is Elusive getting away with this? I want to point out, we've seen the Between Worlds used so often, or Between Worlds, whatever you want to call it. It's been used before, but seeing that break in damage, normally we see it when an Aurora has to get out of danger, or looking to dance on, looking to try and get burst damage out. That ult has been used to basically say a fight is over, you better run. It's never used to actually reposition Aurora, I think. Elusive has been so good at bringing the damage, bringing the pain. Currently 6, 1, and 6. The highest bounty on their head in the game right now.
Yeah, and by contrast, we have to look at Linamoso on the other side. For the side of the Hurricanes. The Orianna pick has not had its impact yet. Unfortunately, the Shockwave, the first one we saw on screen, was blocked by the Crescent Guard. And since then, Linamoso has really been struggling to get in position to do that. He started with the early tier. It's fully stacked, and we're not seeing the Serap's Embrace. So he doesn't have a lot of defensive stats, and we're seeing him get picked off early. So, sure, Luden's Companion, good for poke. A little bit of extra damage as well. Nice if you can land it. But if you can't survive long enough to get in position to land it, well, that's another issue. I do think that the Hurricanes here, they've still got a chance to turn things around, right? 2K, or not even 2K, it's like 1.3 thousand gold differential is not that big. But they don't know the goal difference, and I think they just kind of need to get out their own headspace and set up their win conditions, get that Wukong Orianna combo online.
I mean, considering TCK has 7 of the kills. You really do need to start spreading a little bit of love. We talked about it before. This squad, for the Hurricane, they don't really have a true star. Everyone has had their moment to shine, but in these hard moments when you're facing off against these better teams, we do need to see that star step up, and I really do want to see how you decide who steps up. Earlier, I thought it was TCK with that seal, which can still happen, by the way, but we're still waiting for that true moment where the Hard Rockers are actually put into a little bit of a state of fear of a single player.
We're watching the top lane right now. There's one place the Hard Rockers are not doing that hot right now. It is in this top lane where Atsuo is losing the 1v1 pretty hard, but he's doing his job. He's slowing it down, and since the outer turret went down, it has been a little bit tougher for Meme Boys to really get under that turret and kind of threaten with it. There's always the risk of a collapse to come through. So Atsuo is kind of just doing his jobs. Great interrupt on that recall as well. I mean, that's what you want to do. Meme Boys should know by now there's probably a ward in there. And I'm curious to see if the Hurricanes are able to leverage the top side advantage in any way. Do they send maybe Linomoso up here to try and farm? Well, if they want to do that, they want to make sure that there's actual sufficient warding and vision to keep them safe.
I'd almost wonder if he just... Oh my god! Elusive!
Sheesh.
Sage says no. I don't want to be dried out here. I was about to say, put Sage in the top side. Put Sage into a lane where they can kind of fire up, because the Orianna has some scaling, but not as much as you were hoping a Yunara would. You mentioned before the fact that for the side of the Hurricanes, they do want a scaling in the bottom side. We do want to see Sage hit those 3 to 4 item breakpoints. I would almost put the Yunara up there if you're already not too confident in taking some of these ejectives. However, again, that would be pulling away from the ejectives, so that's the other side that you got to look at. So, not really overly concerned about putting the Yunara into a specific lane. Elusive, though, did get jumped onto the mid lane. Nothing too crazy about it, but Dragon is up at about a minute and a half, which is where our eyes will be drawn.
Teleport's available for all 4 players running it right now, and that means that I think Meme Boys is going to be more than comfortable just continuing to push on this top side. They've got vision down to allow for him to push safely, and a minute and a half is a kind of a long time away. Usually teams are setting up closer to 30 to 60 seconds away from it. It's giving the Hurricanes a little bit more time on this top lane. Can they double down? TCK is topside right now.
Enough. I would also like to point out that the Herald apparently didn't really get a whole lot of usage, but Atsuo might be on the wrong side of the map here, and we're forced into the wrong side of the map. Nope, steps away from the ball, no big deal. Eyes out, though, as TCK is starting to take the entirety of that top side of the jungle and start to get a little bit more fed for themselves 2 items deep.
Yeah, just denying everything away. Wet Dog not quite able to reciprocate on the bot side of the map. And here we're at that 30-second mark, bro. This is when the teams, if they want to go for Dragon, need to start setting up for it. Once again, gold difference fairly small, 1.5 thousand gold. A lot of the Hurricane strength is on TCK and TCK alone. Vision around the Dragon Pit belongs to Hard Rockers.
Actually, all their vision has been centralized down there, which is why Atsuo is just like, I'll push up and draw attention, and if I die, I die. I feel like we can see Wet Dog on the bot side yet again, flash out by Linomoso. And yet again, it's forced at the beginning of these massive global takes. Otacon staring down anyone that dares try to defy, but nothing is being made. Dragon warded out, though, as the Hurricanes are starting to get their own vision lines drawn. Maybe not deep into enemy territory, but close enough to get eyes.
Now, this Dragon is kind of bait for the bigger fight, and that's Otacon, which is also on this bottom side of the map. So whoever wins this next fight potentially wins 2 objectives instead of 1. Dragon at half health, Wet Dog in.
And Wet Dog actually goes in. I am a little bit surprised about this one, but they called out Mom as well. Damage is out. Yunara is safe, but the damage is a little bit too much. Yunara duels out in 1v1, and all of a sudden it's Hurricanes yet again. In comes Meme Boys and TCK, who says you overstepped your boundaries. Linomoso will fall, but it's a 3 for 2 at the end of the day, plus Dragon. The fact that Sage lived against Elusive is freaking massive. Round number 2 is here, though. Can Atsuo and Wet Dog do anything? Otacon not falling too quickly, and again, Safe is very low HP. You're tanking it up. Massive HP difference. Nice draw away. Wet Dog forced away from the battle. I don't think you're going to get a smite down. Atsuo beats up the poor Yunara. Sage goes down. Meme Boy takes that 1v1. Misses the flash over the wall. Is there a smite? Decimating Smash isn't going to snipe away the Otacon, and it is yet again Hurricane and most importantly TCK to get the global objectives.
things were looking dire for the Hurricanes. Like, that fight did not look set up in their favor, but we talked about it. Linamoso just needed one shockwave to turn the tides, and finally the combo we're talking about, the Wukong Oriana combo, the Cyclone into Shockwave, did finally land, and Compton and Elusive were not unfortunately able to get their damage off. The outs came across, and that was kind of it. So Hurricanes able to find that back in the game is dead even once again. We knew it was going to be close, but this one has, like, what's the biggest goal difference we've seen? Less than 2K the entire time?
Yeah, it was, I don't even think it's been about 1.5, and if it were, it's been because of these laning phases. We talked about this top side has been such in favor of Meme Boys, who was able to draw out a lot more damage, but I love the fact that you pointed out Linamoso and TCK were able to get some, but I'm still calling out Sage, who somehow got that massive bounty on Elusive's head, which now means even Sage is back into the game. These carries for the Hurricanes are starting to yield results, and it's off the back of TCK, who you see on the screen right now. I feel just being fearless and going for some of these objectives. Opted into the Dragon start, by the way. Just, hey, let's go. We got some of the wards on it. Let's fight. And it's lent itself as now Baron is spawning on the map.
Yeah, and I think it was a great call from them. They knew that at that point, Atso was not there. The big tanky frontliner was not present, and Meme Boys was kind of winning out that trade. So they only had to watch out for Wet Dog, and the retreat from them after baiting Wet Dog in was flawless. Now, there is a lot of flashes down for Hurricanes. In fact, all of them are down. They don't have a single one right now. So the next fight gets quite a bit tougher. They actually want to slow the game down, wait for those flashes to come back out, wait for the mobility spells, and then look for the next objective. So as long as they can get vision on the Baron and make sure that they get priority on mid and top lane, they're kind of good to go.
Well, if you say that, and TCK immediately clones out of that space, says, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. Of course, we are keeping track of Compton. Compton currently sitting at 219 on the stacks, has the execution online to play for, so the late game is now rounded out. Both teams hitting those points of contact where things are going to get very, very dicey if you are not keeping track of these high priority targets. Linamoso and Elusive, though, dueling for what feels like the first time in a while. Shockwave is going to land, but Elusive is actually drawn into the battle, but of the spells, and that's Linamoso to win it in a solo 1v1. Massive win for Hurricanes.
Tanking 2 turret shots to boot as well. And Linamoso, you know, the early game has not been doing him any favors. It was really, really rough. And I felt like he had that really greedy start with the tier. But it feels like he's kind of gotten his confidence back, his groove back in. He knows how to play the matchup. And he's able to punish Elusive flexing to the mid lane. 4v4 in the Baron pit. Shred is going down. Linamoso, no shockwave, but looking for the flank.
And that's enough damage to kind of piece them out, but TCK trying to call it to continue fighting. Compton sets up a little bit too far for their own liking, lose a quarter of the HP, but a nice all-out brings Wet Dog into a much more dangerous spot. Good kill though, Compton saying, I got this damage now. You have the fights before, I have the fights right now, and this time it is the Hard Rockers to send a hard life lesson the way of the Hurricanes as the skies are finally starting to clear and the team fights, and it's a quadra for Compton as SDM look for the Baron.
Unfortunately for Sage, Sage got completely zoned out on the side. The Hurricanes didn't have damage. They didn't have the consistent damage left. TCK was just kind of wrecked early because he's not that tanky. And then also, without the shockwave, just was not able to pump out the damage. Hard Rockers swinging back once again. The skills have turned, and with the Baron, this will be the biggest gold lead we see come in after this gets picked up. 2.6 thousand gold and a lot of standing turrets as well. Hard Rockers up to this point have taken only one turret. Mid and top are primed, and with the Baron push, I expect to see at least 3 turrets go down with the Baron.
If they don't, I'd actually be very, very sad and very unimpressed with the current pacing, because I feel like if you are the Hard Rockers, you're recognizing that the Hurricanes are really good at kind of pulling these gut shot team fights. It's been, what, twice now that we've seen the Hurricanes actually win it out like that, and it's been rough. I mean, if you're facing off against them, you're like, dude, they could swing at us if we're not careful. So you really do want to play this by the book. You do want to start knocking out a lot of these moments around, and you just want to have this game under your control. We are taking a look at the 5th dragon of the game, handedly covered in vision and control by the side of the Hard Rockers. Go ahead and collect, maybe look for a little bit further mid push as Meme Boys for the other side looking to try and get more gold on that top side.
Yeah, it's so point, but if you're Hurricanes right now, you just can't take it. You just got to let it go. So I appreciate that call. They're just trying to push out the lanes as well, and ideally, I think they're just trying to burn out the burn as much as possible. Bot lane was already pushing. They're in the mid lane, pushing that one out as much as they can, which isn't very far, and I fear that mid won't be able to survive very long. Meme Boys, meanwhile, went up top and did kind of shove that lane. I'm curious to see if Meme Boys can still push into Atso. It feels like that topside push has not reaped much rewards. Like that inner turret for the side of Hard Rockers remains really strong, and there's hardly any chip damage on it.
I mean, this is just that time and a half. Sage being empowered with those auto attacks as well. That transcendent state is one to be feared if you give a little bit too much space. Atsuo, though, finding a monkey inside the jungle, which is a scary one to see. Axel smash, and TCK is like, bro, not cool, man, not cool.
TCK has been getting caught out in the enemy jungle a lot, but to be fair, with the dash.
Okay, that was an enemy jungle. That was his jungle. I don't.
That's not your jungle anymore. You lost it. Really
Alright, that's fair. That's fair. Poor dude was just like, I want to look at the windows. I want to look at what I can buy. Oh, there, yeah, someone scratched my back real quick. That's just rude. Oh,
What dog?
What dog? What dog? Crescent guarding out to safety. Elusive is there to play. Good snap on the damage into the Between Worlds and rocks into the other side corner. Wet Dog is able to jump away but not be able to save their own life. They were trying to 2v4. I give them credit for that for SCM, but it just didn't work out as cleanly as you thought.
And the Between Worlds a little bit awkwardly. Compton. Hey, okay, so great from Compton to kind of equalize the score. But I think Hurricanes are pretty happy with how that went. They did manage to burn out most of the Baron, and they've only lost one turret so far. That pick is huge. If they can find Atso, even better. Flash has already been burnt, and Unstoppable taken away as well. And that means that the Hard Rockers, yeah, their Baron's completely worn out. The rest of the team were not able to push up because with Atso being shoved out like that, they had to be so careful for the Cassante front.
Yeah, I will say really well done by the Hurricanes. University of Tulsa making sure that they negate a lot of that pressure. And look at that gold lead once again. That gold has actually stayed relatively even once again. It's actually below the 2.6k range. So somehow, in the overall grand scheme of things, it's the Hard Rockers that actually got a barely minus Baron power play, I would say. Like, that is ridiculous.
In hockey, we call it a short-handed goal, I guess. not quite a goal, but pretty much close to. Beautiful power play squashing coming through from the Hurricanes. Now, we're well into the mid game and approaching the late game, as it were. And we did talk about how both teams have pretty strong skillings. They have a lot of good numbers come through. Their tanks as well, both skill very, very well. What is important to note will be sort of little more so. We've highlighted this Orianna multiple times. Well, that Shockwave is going to be more important than ever, because for Hurricanes, they will lose out a sustained fight against a Smolder.
Yep.
You pointed out that Smolder just outskills pretty much everybody. Maybe a Senna could hope to match just by outranging, but effectively outrange is the only way to deal with it, and damage-wise, you're not going to be able to match Smolder as the game goes on. So Littermoso has to take out Compton, or TCK has to take out Compton. If they don't get the big burst into Smolder early, they will lose these fights. Whereas for Hard Rockers, it's kind of just keep your Smolder alive. And to be fair, I don't think they've done a fantastic job of that. Like, Compton's kind of had to deal with things on his own so far. And Elusive, great numbers, but Elusive is not the big carry in the late game.
No, but, you know, for Compton doing his own thing, I will say done a fantastic job. The only two deaths that we've seen so far have been around those team fight scenarios, so it's not like Compton isn't doing a good job on their own. It's just we don't want to see Compton on his own. Like, we want to see Compton get some help. Like, bro, stop having to do everything on your own. Of course, Elusive on the top side, showing that Meme Boys only really has a small margin of MR, and chewing through the Cassante is not a bad matchup in the 1v1.
And that was kind of the big deal. Early on, we were kind of saying, okay, who's laning into Meme Boys? Because it is kind of tough. Now it's who's laning into Elusive in the 1v1s. Because as much as we're saying Elusive is not the big team fight carry, he has the most sort of single target damage on the team for Hard Rockers. So his laning is going to be really, really comfortable. He's happy to kind of go to the side for now. It just feels like Hard Rockers is more than happy to just sit back and wait for objectives and fight for that. 15 seconds to Cloud Soul. I don't know if Cloud Soul will be really like a big sort of objective that can swing the game, but getting TCK would be a great start.
TCK being forced to run away here. Compton coming in with a little bit of fiery breath. Currently 4 items, by the way. I think the fastest of 4 items that we've seen in this game alone. So Compton's really happy about that one. Wet Dog, though, still chasing in, hasn't really broken with that crescent guard yet. I don't know if you want to force it at all. Dragon is now up. That's what they were waiting on. And this time they have all 5 with them. Will it be enough, though, was the question.
A dog trying to be that front line, but he's not truly that tanky. Mean Boy's going in, separated from the team, but he's tanky enough that he's actually zoned out the Hard Rockers, and it's the Hurricanes right now with the inside track onto Dragon.
The longer this goes on, I think if for some reason it stays like this for another minute and a half, Wave state is a little bit opposite in the directions. For Hurricanes, they win out on the bot side, Wave pressuring in. That's why they actually see the mid lane trying to break, but there's a team fight action. Meme Boys knocking one away as the all-out brings Wet Dog all the way back to the rest team, but they're healing up for quite a bit. Elusive in the backline, trying to bring some extra damage. Mom comes down with the execution, but Dory has to run away. Elusive is still trying to chance, but in the mid lane, TZK can barely stay alive. Damage has been done, and it's the Hurricanes to try and flash back, but Compton goes hard, still survives thanks to Bochi on the heels, and there's going to be another execution. Compton finally goes down, but it's still a triple at the end of the day, as this has been such a cluster, such a mess, such a cacophony of death and glory. Bochi about to be run away as Linomoso, who has been left alone for a majority share of the game, is now running in enemy territory. The end result, a 3 for 3, and some members just barely alive.
Is Mean Boy's gonna wrap around and hunt for Bochi? No, Mean Boy's looking for it, but Bochi finally run it back to base. Atso in the tank line, in the vanguard, last man standing in the front lines for the Hard Rockers. And Orbital, we talked about it. Gotta keep Compton alive. As long as Compton was alive, there was a chance. And you saw the damage coming through. He managed to hit the back line. The rapid fire cannon additional range was just barely enough to take out Sage, Dory, and TCK. And when all is said and done, Dragon is still on the board. Both teams were able to trade 3 for 3, and it's still net even. Bear now on the table as the pings from the Hurricane are coming down topside.
What do you mean the dragon's still up? I thought the dragon died in that last fight, right? Like the dragon totally
the small
died.
dragon.
I don't know what you're talking.
Yeah.
Oh,
dragon.
right. So would you call like a smolder like a grub or a scuttle in comparison to like Herald? Is that what it is?
No, I think he's
like
getting to the point where he's like a soul dragon.
No, that's fair, that's fair. Maybe not the Elder, that's Mom all the way through. Atsuo, though, says, let's go ahead and turn you into an Elder if we can, because the execution is too real. Once again, massive heal coming out from Dory, trying to keep everyone safe. Wet Dog on the far side, but Elusive on the back lines, just keeping everyone at bay. And they turn on to the other side. They turn onto the tank. Shockwave wins the one, but Compton is down. Compton went down yet again. Destruction leading the way as that's a snap by Sage. Sage on the other side has stayed alive the whole time long. And my God, the Hurricanes have found the right opportunity.
Yeah, the Hurricanes had one job, Orbital. One job. Kill Compton. And they did it darned well in that particular fight, removing him immediately. And you can see the moment Compton's down, there's not enough sustained damage. Hurricanes able to win out. And once again, or not once again, pardon me, because the first dragon went the first Baron went the way of Hard Rockers, but now the Hurricanes are able to pick themselves up this Baron as well. Atso and Elusive just trying to be menaces, but there's no smite here. Wet Dog went down first.
I think you just recognize that you can't really fight this one. Mean Boys is tanking it all up. Not to give credit, I mean, Hurricanes are playing like a Hurricane overall, just all over the place and messing up anything in their own way. When we talked about watching Hard Rockers be able to play and keep Compton safe, if we had a replay of that last fight, they were pulled apart so far. All 5 members in 5 different areas. I don't know if Hurricanes meant to do that, but they have found their window of opportunity. Now sitting on Soul Point as well, have Baron to their table. And let's see if they can do better with the Baron than the Hard Rockers did.
And if anything, I'm giving credit to Mean Boys on how that last play went. Because Mean Boys is the one who looked like he got caught out, but he was tanky enough, and he was the reason why it looked so chaotic for Hard Rockers. Because he was the one who kind of pulled Wet Dog over the wall and left him in a tough position. Compton caught before the fight.
Yeah, and Seisha says, I'm ready to fight. And of course you go down for your troubles. Dory, though, somehow skirts away from death. In comes Mean Boys with the teleport. And remember, double ADC gone means it's all about the HP value. Mean Boys not able to get the knockback. Elusive is still alive. It doesn't have the Between the Worlds, though. So it is just going to be a tower gone. Hurricanes looking to break through the base if they can with their tanks, with their front line, with their health.
Yeah, but Mean Boy's so darn tacky, just walking in there, going on to Elusive.
And Elusive is gone. The bunny has been bit, cooked, and put up for the feast. That feast is the Hurricanes looking for a game victory. It looked rough in the early game. It looked rough in the mid game. But you found the dragon to cook, and you get the first inhibitor of the game.
With the Baron buff to boot, the Hurricanes are still able to push in without their marksman, but overall they can't quite close out just yet. So they're in a good position. Again, the lead is favorable, but funnily enough, we finally hit the point where we see a significant lead come through from team, and it's feeling like it kind of almost doesn't matter. They are almost maxed out on items, 5 items on multiple members across the Rift right now. So Hurricanes are strong. This is the lead they got, but in the back of the mind, they got to remember we are capping out soon, and Compton still exists. Smolder can still become an Elder.
I think at this point, you're almost banking on Sage and Dory to do the exact same thing that they did before. Extend the Yunara's range, catch Compton out by surprise, DPS him down with the auto attacks. Because I do want to point out, Sage did 3 autos to Compton. It's not just the fact that TCK, Luna Moso, and Meme Boys can take down Compton. The Yunara tower can do work, and that has to be recognized by the same side as Hard Rockers. Of course, at the current moment, what they are recognizing is their entire base is falling. The Baron buff is still up for about 20 seconds. They're able to clear out a majority share of all that standing gold. They aren't really going to use it all, though, because they want to get some of these kills. Scryer's Bloom is poked. Bot side wave is pushing with double cannon minions. This might be enough to take down this tower. I mean, Boys is going to hold it off, and it looks like they are going to grab it. All 5 hang on for dear life, and they're going to push the inhibitor as well. Clean take by University of Tulsa.
The 5 final seconds of that Baron buff, and frankly, Hurricanes almost overextended to make that happen, but unfortunately for Hard Rockers, there's no ward for them to teleport to. There's no angle for them. So Atso couldn't quite find the way to approach, had to base 8 seconds by the time he's there. Hurricanes took the inhibitor back out and are now set to siege up on that top side. But unfortunately for them, while they might want to siege up top side for the turrets, they do have to be aware Dragons don't spawn in 1 minute. And this is so for both teams. Again, I don't know if the Cloud Soul is worth it necessarily. Like, I actually think Hurricanes maybe should just focus on that top side, say let that dragon go, because if they can take all 3 inhibs, the soul doesn't matter. If you're in your base, there's not enough space for the movement speed to be important.
That's true. It's give and take though, and it looks like they are going to say you got to give it to us. Hurricanes positioning down to the bot side. Wards are not fully planted just yet, so TCK and Meme Boys are going to do a quick sweep of some of the encompassing bushes. The wave in the mid being cleared out by Compton, who is again trying to free farm as much as possible. But Wet Dog might run straight into enemy territory, pinned into the wall, drawn into the battle on the bot side. It is going to be a fall and a half for the jungler that has been trying to make magic happen. Unfortunate for the Hard Rockers as they lose their smite and will lose this soul point.
I feel like we've seen that song and dance before where Wet Dog stepping up, and I feel like it needs to be Atsuo, who's the one in the front line. He's the tanky tank. He's the one who scales up infinitely, technically, with his health bar. I'm actually curious how much health Atsuo might have at this point, because he'll surely survive better than Wet Dog will. And every time Wet Dog goes down, that's an objective gone right from the get-go. You contrast that to this side. TCK now with a GA in his pocket. He's willing to frontline, because even if he dies, he's got a second life, but he hasn't really died since the late games rolled around. He's been able to get in there, cause chaos, and get out every single time.
That chaos might continue here. Wave not fully prepped though, so it'll take, what, another 30 seconds to push the wave. Moso just kind of rounding out with that black shield saying, look, can we look for a kill? Can we look for a fight possibility? Elusive is here. The sub, the emergency sub that has looked amazing so far in the early to mid has not found their pressure towards this late game. It's come down to the final dose of reality here as one of the teams will fall in game number 1 and take one more step towards a loss of this series on the record.
I think Elusive has done a phenomenal job stepping in as a substitute. He's been a big threat. He's still getting the poke down. The person I need to see at these fights is actually Atsuo. We keep talking about the potential he has for these flank maneuvers and whatnot. Forget flanking. He just needs to kick off a fight in their favor. He needs to create a front to back. And now he's in face first.
You know what? Hey, it's a step 1. It's step 1 towards the possibility that we were talking about. Just walk in, look at that battle if you can. However, once again, they are a little bit on the side. Elusive, though, finds a massive chunk on the stage that might bring it out. Compton ready to go on the side, but Elusive helps Compton find a snipe into the back line. What is this battle, RMC? Where did this squad come from? It is elusive to kick things off, but it is Compton to finish the battle as the Hard Rockers take two. Need to save their base, but have a moment to breathe.
Yeah, Hard Rockers, somebody's got to go back. Elusive run in there. Elusive has teleport to rejoin the team if need be. But overall, this is why I was saying they need Atsuo to just walk in face first. They needed to get a front to back where Compton is not under threat. And they were able to find that. And you can see the work Compton can do when he's not under fire. Dory separated as Linamoso looking to have threat. No shockwave just yet, but just trying to find the squishier targets. Can't walk in there.
I mean, there's nothing that you can do. The damage output is just too dang high, so you're going to scatter. Elusive actually TP'd up to the top side, which I don't really know if this is the spot you wanted to be. I wonder if you could have gone for that bot side, but at least Elusive was in the area. Tower knocked down. Baron buff number 3 in the hands of one of these squads as we are cresting into the 45-minute range. RMC, a single ace will end this game.
Well, I guess they weren't kidding when they told me that their games were pretty gosh darn close despite being lossless so far. And for both of these teams, the goal once again, you know, within a 2K distance, which is nothing at the 45-minute mark. It really does just seem to come down to execution and which team can find their win cons. Can the Hard Rockers set up their battle line? Can they protect their little dragon? And for the Hurricanes, can they get the Hurricane to the backline and blow up the squishies, right? Linamoso this time wasn't able to do that. TCK this time was nowhere even close to the backline because there was Sion as a first line. And even after you get past Sion, there's still a Xinjiao as well to get through. That double layer ensures that TCK is not finding easy backline access.
Yeah, it's been such an interesting cause. I do want to point out as well, Hex Drinker currently in the hand of Linamoso, going for that maul, just recognizing that Elusive has gotten away with far too much burst this game around. It's been frustrating to deal with as again, Sage has been actually doing quite well. 3, 6, and 10 as the game has gone on, has a lot of punching power. Just seems to be able to survive long enough to throw down. However, RMC, it does seem like both squads are actively saying, let's play a calm game and let's just look for the Elder as the game ender.
I don't know if they have really any other choice, right? Both their comps want a team fight. The split push is getting dangerous for both of these teams. It is worth noting that for Hard Rockers, there's a lot more turrets for them to chew through. On one hand, you can look at it as standing goal, but on the other hand, it is something that will delay them in terms of being able to push in and end the game. The game is getting late enough that the death timers are long. But we're also seeing that teams aren't necessarily walking away clean, and we're losing AD carries. Those turrets might actually make all the difference in terms of when you can push in. Minute and a half till the Elder spawns for now. It's the Hurricanes in the area setting up their vision and setting up their control first. And I do think for the Hurricanes, control is going to be important because they're the ones who need to get the ambush tactics off. They're the ones who need to get the flank off. Whereas for Hard Rockers, they just need to make sure Atsuo is the one face tanking.
Yep. I mean, it worked so well last time. Let's see if they can do it again. Atsuo, though, saying, I don't even want to be in the tank range because I had no one else to body block for me. Ward is going to be cleared. Remember last time, Wet Dog has been in this position of, oh, I got to kind of do something. No GA in their pocket. Instead, going for the Bramble, looking to carve through some of that healing that the Hurricanes have had so far. Elusive, though, willingly, what the heck? Just bold-faced checking the that is wild to see from an Aurora. That was
I feel like this has been kind of doing that all game. Elusive has had some amazing flanks to get huge burst damage. In the last fight, Sage got just pushed out the fight right from the get-go because Elusive managed to find the big pop of damage. It's worth noting as well, Sage doesn't have GA. Compton does. So even if Compton gets caught out, as long as his team can sit on him and defend him long enough for him to res and come back in, he will still be in the fight. Whereas if Sage gets caught by anything at this point in the game, that's pretty much GG on that fight.
Let's see if we can be playing. Wet Dog once again rounding in front. Atsuo on the bot side of the map. They have about 10 seconds left to kind of skirmish their way around this battle as Atsuo is now in the region. It's so dangerous. It's a dark battle once again. Elusive already down to about 25% HP. Where are they going to look? Wet Dog trying to chase in. All summoner spells up as well. Atsuo face tanking, and they're trying to draw away a lot of members. Wet Dog coming around the side. Recognize that TCK is a little bit alone. Shielding to come out. Yet again, Atsuo starting to get shredded through here. 3 damage to come down, but look at that burn. Compton is just like, I got your back, bro.
Compton literally sneezed and out-traded.
Yeah.
And to
That's
be fair,
ridiculous.
Elusive did take quite a bit of poke damage, stepping up there, trying to zone out the back line. So Elusive now on the base, TPing back and doesn't have a flank angle, will just be rejoining the team. And for all that, I was a little bit concerned with how Hurricanes ended up showing on that mid wave, showing they were split. They do get that push going. TCK is looking for the engage.
Oh, yes, they are, but Elusive's nowhere near, so this battle needs to go their way. They drew the Crescent Guard and the Redemption, though. That is a huge boon, I think, for the side of the Hurricanes. Hurricanes now looking for this battle. TCK pinned against the wall, but ready to go on the back line if you can. Huge damage come out as the Wukong is taken quite low. GA's pop, the damage is good, though, as Sage has free fire in the back line. Dory now doing their best Karma impression. Snipe on the backside as Compton goes down. Bochi has no safety, which means Atsuo and Weton go, where is my team? The Hurricanes have wrecked shop on the back line, and that means they will claim this team fight, the ace in their favor. And University of Tulsa at 49.5 minutes may not get the ace, but they will get the base. Sage came online out of freaking nowhere. Hey Atsuo, you're not in a good space, my friend. You are gonna go down. And what is one of the longest games we have cast here in the NECC this season? It is going to be GG for game 1.
Oh, this is the game 1 of a best of 3. We've got potentially 2 more games of this, and this was why we were hyped, right? 2 teams which have yet to lose a series. When they clash, somebody's got to fall, but it's never going to be an easy job to come through. And a 50-minute banger, that tells a huge story. But they've got to look a little bit towards game 2, because even though the Hurricanes won, Orbital, I don't know if they'll be happy necessarily with how that game went and how close to the wire it came down to. And I'm looking specifically at Linamoso a little bit here. He's their, regular starting mid laner. He's actually the highest solo queue ranked player on that team. And the early game, I think he messed up his lane a little bit, and that's kind of what caused the game to drag out as long as it did. Huge props to TCK and Meme Boys, though. I think 2 of them were a huge reason why Hurricanes were staying in it when things were kind of going south. And at the end as well, TCK finding that critical engage, not quite finding the kill onto Compton to pop the GA, but getting him low enough that he didn't want to stay near the fight and allowed Sage to kind of clean up on that back end.
Yeah, huge props as well to Elusive stepping into a role, making himself look like a regular starter, by the way, just not to push over. And our Hard Rockers, as you said, got to go back to the drawing board a little bit, see what went wrong, and see how maybe you can drop the timer down just a little bit. 15 minutes is wild. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, the NECC Week 6 matchup will continue as we see who writes in the next chapter. Will it be the final one, or will we have a Chapter 3? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
wish we stayed the same. I got way too many thoughts in my brain. I got memories that run through my veins. I'm not one to blame, but I could point out every way that you changed. Some things stay up while others go right down the drain. And lately we've been going down in flames. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm my therapist is saying that I should. I don't believe it, but I really wish I could. Instead, I guess I'll stay misunderstood. Oh, 'cause I'm stuck now, just trying to figure a way out. I've tried but can't seem to slow down. I don't know if I want to. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm can't seem to slow down, and I don't know if I want to. Colder, and you're frozen over like I am. It's colder, colder when I'm older, older than I am. And I know you know that I have lost composure, but I'll hold you closer while I can. I never told you that I'm slightly broken, that I might lose focus when I am. I know you know that life gets colder, colder when you're frozen over like I am.
to explore. Imperfect visions, I think I've been here.
It's time for the School of Hard Knocks as we knock down yet another lesson. 50 minutes in game number 1 in what was probably one of the bloodier slugfests I have cast in a while. Both Hard Rockers as well as the Hurricanes, they drafted late game comps, went the late game, and yet the fights were very all over the place, and it still yielded some very interesting moments overall.
And I just feel so much for Hard Rocker and how that ended up playing out for them, because Elusive comes in, it kind of messes up, I think, their usual synergies, and he played phenomenally well. The game comes so incredibly close, and they lose it on a single fight. Overall. They were ahead. They're Compton on this motor had been skilling up, become an absolute beast. Atsu was finally able to join the team. Everything looked like it was going right, and then everything just crumbles in one swift fight. And going into game 2, there is a question of mental, right? Like, what else does Hard Rocker still have left in their tank that they can kind of pull out here? I'm sure they've got more picks. That's not the issue. It's more a mental thing, and are they on tilt? On the other hand, for the Hurricanes, it wasn't an easy win for them either. Sure, they're riding the high of a win, but I still remember when I talked to Fear Turbo, he was talking about the teamwork and sort of the drafting and the composition. I don't feel like they got that big an edge in the draft in game 1, and I'm curious to see what they can do in game 2. To be fair, they weren't prepared for Elusive. I don't think anybody was prepared for Elusive to come in last second, so maybe they didn't. Some of their prep was targeted more at Genesis, and that last second swap, maybe they didn't have time. But now they've had a game where Fear Turbo had time to maybe look at what Elusive is likely to pull out, what things they can maybe target, and how they like to play. So I'm very curious to see how Hurricanes adapt into game 2 as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a treat, as we've also learned that both teams have actually swapped sides. We did hear that for the Hard Rockers, they want the red side angle. I will say, though, for game number 1, one of the stars that at least made the early game a little bit more palpable was TCK. TCK played an exceptional game of being able to steal away a lot of those primary objectives, making a lot of those early game shot calls that did send Hard Rockers into a little bit of a, I don't want to say a tizzy, but made it harder for them to play their safe, secure game. It's why we actually ended up with a 7-game series, a 7-dragon series, I should say. It was a very destructive one. Looking into draft number 2, though, we do have to call eyes. Obviously, the last draft is no more. What do we see come out from the side of Hard Rockers specifically if they want to get yet another late game scaling composition?
Well, I don't know if that's what they want to do necessarily. And since they're on the red side, I'm actually more looking at them to maybe find some counter picks where they can really take advantage of things and kind of snowball it there. But I actually don't know where they're going to send their counter picks to. Because we look at Atsu, and it's worth noting, Hard Rocker actually, they were the team to ban the Mbessa as well as the Udyr in game 1 when they were blue side. So those were champions that should have been advantaged for them. And they kind of let that through. And then this game, they're on the red side, they get counterpick. But is Atsuo a big counterpicker? I actually don't know. Most of the games I've seen, he feels like he's playing more weak side for the team, so they can focus on mid jungle instead. I don't know Elusive's jungle pool. I don't know if he's got necessary counterpicks. And for the bot lane, we don't see that many counterpicks necessarily coming through. At most, it's sort of support counters coming against each other.
Well, a little bit of a surprising factor as well, the fact that we're seeing an immediate support ban to come out here. A very heavy target down to the bot side. It seems that for Hard Rockers, you're saying, okay, Hurricanes, your bot lane actually did really well. Dory held up their own. So, especially since Sage also likes to lean towards that late game, you take away one of the best safeties in the market. Brand, though, banned away. We can see what's coming in that frame of mind, saying, okay, look, Brand can be played in support and mid. Maybe Elusive has a tweak of Brand mid in there.
Yeah, and for the Hurricanes, I expect to see the Graves come through again. It's all very targeted bans to come through. Like we said, not a lot of shared champions between these teams necessarily. And this time, Hard Rocker banning the Mbessa, that makes sense to me. You're on red side, you don't get first pick, and I don't know if you have a counter necessarily into that answer. Graves there as well. And if we look back to game 1, what Hard Rockers banned, they banned Azir, Mbessa, Udyr.
Yep.
One of those two are getting through right now. Either it's the Azir or it's the Udyr. Azir opened up.
Yep, and we'll see if it slides on through, but at the same time, you can also say for Lunamoso, do you actually want to grab it right now? Maybe Elusive has a good counterpick to it. Nah, you go ahead and slam it. It's been one of the main pickups for any mid laner as well. Outside of the Orianna, Azir has been climbing through the ranks. Obviously, we've seen it at Worlds 9 times out of 10 in every single series. So, gotta go ahead with that one. But what will Elusive choose? And you go with the Talia. Good answer in there.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Azir. You can't afford to blind pick him because generally the counters to him are outranging him. Things like Xerath, potentially Hui as an answer, but they're also very vulnerable to pressure and just being engaged upon. So the next best thing is you just handshake, which is what we're seeing with this Talia pickup coming through from Hard Rockers. Now Sivir coming through from Compton. I like the idea. I think Compton did a fantastic job on the Smolder. It was a big part of why they were winning some of those team fights, but Smolder is very vulnerable, and we saw that. Sivir still very short range, but at least she's got the spell shield to be able to survive a little bit better and get that bouncing to continue. Sage with the Kai'Sa pickup overall. We were talking about this a little bit before because I was saying that she plays Kai'Sa in solo queue, but we haven't seen her play it in NECC just yet. And she's been playing a lot of sort of scaling safe picks, but now they're giving agency to the spot lane.
Yeah, not only that, heavy priority as well. You see Dory rocking with that Nico. It's a completely different shift than what we saw before, which almost means the immediate grab of the Rel. This is one of the great disengagers out there, or engagers if you wish, is going to help a lot with that kind of ramp up comp. It's a very nice piece of work if you pair it with another engager as well. Hard Rockers, though, I think thrown for a little bit of a loop for what Hurricanes have just drafted, and I like it. Now you're focused on the top side. Dr. Mundo banned away. There are some others that you could look at, as considering Mean Boys did very, very well in terms of the early to mid-game experience in that top lane.
And it's interesting that they banned away Mundo overall, because that tells me, first of all, Hard Rockers did do their research into what's been played by Mean Boys, but they're also trying to take away that safety, that tankiness to allow the Azir space. I think the Hurricanes could just kind of go for damage overload if they wanted. Actually, I'd love to see Mean Boys with another carry, maybe like an Aatrox that can follow up with the Nico, or it could go something like a Jax as well that can win your lane, because we did see Mean Boys just kind of run away with it in game one in the lane. His Cassante, that gold lead made him so incredibly relevant and a huge split pushing threat for most of the game. So I'd rather see it on a carry where he can take over than a tank, which kind of just gets relegated to being that chunky unit and just blocking damage, blocking people from diving backline.
Ooh, wow. Okay. This is going to be wet dog just going bro. I'm done.
Yep.
Gloves are off. Slam down that Viego, which I haven't really seen, and now puts a lot of pressure on Wet Dog to get that carry. And then TCK turns around with the Sejuani. We saw this, you and I were discussing this. Very big engager, loves playing those engaged champions, and brings that frontline access for the rest of the team.
And this sets up Mean Boys to play carries if he wants to the top side. Okay, it's not like the Jax. Go with the Jace instead. And this makes such a well-rounded composition for the Hurricanes. I love it. You've got Poke, you've got Disengage. Sedge, Jace was a great poke combo that we saw come through, and with the Kai'Sa as well, great poke. You've got a lot of damage as well with that front line, kind of double marksman with the Chase. And also with the Gragas is an interesting pick, because Gragas can go toe to toe with Jace, one of the few champions that can with your sustain. You can outlast his mana pool, with just the passive from Gragas healing you back up. You can run it around ring. You also have kill threat on the Jace if Jace is going lethality and not a bit of a tankier build. But when Atso has played it in the past, I can't remember which matchup it was more of a nullifying Gragas in the top lane. And Gragas, it was against Kansas Crimson, actually. Yeah, he played the Gragas, and it was more to nullify lane and kind of play for the team. I'm looking at sort of the setup for Hard Rockers as well. I don't know if they want to go with damage overload composition, especially into the Sejuani. It gets a little bit dicey. So I expect to see the Gragas again kind of go down in lane and just lose gracefully and play more for utility later on.
I will say, though, if we zoom out just a little bit with that telescope, instead use just a magnifying glass, something that has spoken out to me, no more true tanks in this game. One of the things that we talked about in game number one is that, no, okay, listen, Sedge can be a tank. I don't expect this to really worry about being a tank, because you look at all the HP bars on the side. I don't see a Scion HP bar. I don't see, the Cassante HP bar. We have seen Sejuani's get tanky, but that is not my main focus. I'm looking at the burst ability, the Azir, the Kai'Sa, the Nico. These are champions that I'm very excited to see if they are just going to pop in the middle of the team fight. The long, drawn-out battles that we saw were because of the beefcakes. It's only a Sejuani. Viego is not that tanky. Gragas, as you said, a nullifier, but I think only gets, like, HP tanky. Is just an HP bar to draft through in there. Has a little bit more AP focus. I'm just really interested to see how this pans out when you don't have the ability to reset a fight almost immediately.
Okay. Yeah, I think for the Gragas, there's still the old Fimble Winter build where you can go a little bit tanky. We just, as you said, I think have seen more AP builds, and both would kind of work for Hard Rockers. I actually, part of me almost. The problem is the Sejuani, right? The engage power that TCK has with that pick. If not for that, I would like to see damage overload come through from Hard Rocker. You talk about resetting fights. Well, that's what the explosive cask is for, potentially, right? People are coming in, you use that, you break that out. But if you go for a damage overload composition, if you're going AP with this Gragas, then it becomes a pick tool. Anybody steps up, Nico steps up, just pop the Nico before she can pop her Blossom. You know, if the Kaisa wants to go in there, you can just disrupt with the belly slam as well. There is a lot of options for Atsuo here, but my eyes are actually drawn a little bit more to Wet Dog coming through for the side of Hard Rockers, because he's a big carry in his own right. We saw that last game as well with the Xin Zhao. He wasn't getting kills, but he was always the one to kind of be willing to go first in. With the Viego, you don't want to be the one to go first in, but you are a big carry, and you can be the guy who takes over the game 1v5 if you get snowballing. So I think Wet Dog's being given his agency this game, and instead of having to play for his lanes, you know, with the Gragas, with the Talia, they are almost set up for this Viego to pop off.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that one. They still got the NGAs, they still got all the tools. Fine, you win that. No, not really win, but it's 100% true what you just said, making sure that you have the right tools on hand to make these plays happen. Wards do go down on either side, and while we talk about all these little bits and pieces, I do want to shout out another one of our amazing sponsors here for NECC. It is Wenzel's Farms. Wenzel's Farms, a legendary Wisconsin meat stick since 1977. Made in Wisconsin, goes great with gaming. They have been around for some time, 14 mouthwatering flavors, so make sure to meet your heart out. Go ahead and check them out. Wenzel's Farm, legendary Wisconsin meat sticks. Go ahead and please check them out. We actually had them before at one of the NECC lands, which was very, very tasty, by the way.
We ate a lot of them, actually. It
was actually really good.
Not even because we were hungry, just because we were really Moorish, you know, like you eat some and you keep wanting to go for it. Interesting starts actually coming through for the side of Hard Rockers. I questioned the early tier of the Goddess coming through from Linamoso last game. And it's Hard Rockers now, 2 tiers on both their solo laners. So they are sacrificing a lot of early trading power. And because of that, Atsuo, yeah, you saw that trade. It did not end well for him, and he's having problems stepping up to actually CS top lane.
Yeah. Not only that, Grass on the Undying from Meme Boys mean you actually do get a little bit of HP in there as well, which is going to kind of nullify the fact that some of these trades might be a little bit rough. If you're able to balance out in such an early stance, I do like what Meme Boys is doing there. However, junglers, of course, starting out on opposite sides of the map. Linamoso, by the way, looking... I don't want to say more comfortable, but the fact that you look way more in an HP division there looks much better, at least at the start here. Gives me a lot of comfort for this Azir saying, hey, if you gave me the Azir, I'm going to make you pay for it.
Fair enough, and Azir not known as a particularly strong laning champion either. Like, yes, he can do well, but he's really about farming up, and once you get the Nashers is when you start looking for trades in your favor. So definitely a huge advantage for Linamoso to look comfortable in this matchup. Elusive, though, still farming pretty decently. We're not seeing a big CS disadvantage coming through necessarily. So it's more of a question of if Elusive can farm up enough CS and gold to make that first back comfortable, or if he's forced to go back and not buy another sort of lane or combat item. If he has to come back to something like a Sapphire Crystal or Boots, that's when it starts to feel really bad as the Talia, and Elusive has just been forced into a search space.
Yeah, it's going to be that
Arxio?
position.
Okay.
Nice little ward out by Dory, by the way. Nice little clone. Excuse me, up to the dry brush saying, is anyone there? No, not really. Eyes out, though, as we do see both junglers going for those scuttles, just like usual, a trade on either end. No one really getting overly offensive and trying to look for those ganks. So it's going to be a comfortable pace right now. Eyes out. Topside TCK. Maybe looking for a play, but Atsuo is playing relatively safe here.
I don't think Atsuo's had a choice. Me boys just been shoving him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think TCK, only way he gets the gank off there is if he wants to kind of sneak into that lane bush up there, but he doesn't want to waste too much time early on, so just kind of going for the recall. Wet Dog had a similar situation where he was looking at ganking Linamoso, but Linamoso, because he shoved back quickly, the wave bounced. Now Meme Boys might be in trouble. He doesn't have a ward.
And he now just sees that cloak. That view is had. It's an easy pick, well called out by Wet Dog, giving it to Atsuo first blood.
I do want to highlight Meme Boys didn't have a ward out, but he technically had the trinket and hasn't dropped a single ward either. So that was a little bit on him, you know, enjoying the lane bully too much, I think, and now Atsu able to answer back. But this reminds us a lot of game 1, right, where Atsu fell behind massively in CS, picked up those early kills on a failed dive, but was still kind of behind for most of the game. And right now, again, the base timing is a bit unfortunate. He can't quite pick up the catalyst. It's just a ruby crystal, it's just a sapphire crystal. It lets him lane a little bit longer, but into Meme Boy's boots and the ability to kind of control that range with the movement speed, I expect to see Atsu kind of being forced out to miss CS continually in this laning phase.
It's going to be a rough one to see. Ping's going down into that mid lane. Eyes out over the side as TCK gets a nice little flail onto Elusive. Good shove back. A little shove from the stones keeps TCK at bay. And if Linomoso had a little bit more HP, maybe that would have been different. But there's going to be the jump flash, out flash for Linomoso. Doesn't take a tower shot, but the last auto from the Shurima soldier will take it. Linomoso with a kill thanks to TCK.
Yo, bro, that's why they're on the Rift and we're in the casting booth. Because
True.
we thought Linomoso, oh, so close. And Linomoso went, no, just a little bit more, and able to find that one, pick up the kill as well. And it's worth noting as well that Elusive had to burn the teleport early, which we marked upon. Linomoso didn't. So Linomoso gets to go back, gets to get the item advantage with the kill, and get back to lane a little bit faster to get that shove advantage.
All right, well, more movements around the map as Wet Dog says, let's go ahead and fight on the other side. But Dory with a beautiful entangle actually allows TCK to join on in. Wet Dog has flash and has to burn it. Time is on, though, as the jungler's getting active way earlier in the game than I remember in game 1.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Red Dog's not level 6 yet either. Doesn't have the Heartbreaker ready. Doesn't have the ult he executes to keep on snowballing. Now, it's worth noting, flashes were traded. Sages for Wet Dog. So, love to see Wet Dog, you know, kind of revisit that bot lane, make good on that for now. But it is going to be the Hurricanes picking up the early dragon.
This is actually really nice. One of the best early Drakes to have. It is an Ocean Dragon to play for, which now means these trade factors, especially for Meme Boy in the top side, and Linomoso, who has been trading out fairly heavily with Elusive, they're going to have that slight edge over their lane opponents, which is really, really nice to have for the next, 5-6 minutes.
Yeah, I think especially for Linomoso, because Meme Boy has been crushing up top. The health advantage isn't going to be that significant for him when he's already dominating so much. But as you pointed out, Linomoso and Elusive, they've been a lot closer with their trades. And yes, Linomoso has the edge now, having got sort of the item advantage with his base timers. But the regeneration as well is going to make him so much safer. Elusive, you don't get to walk up there with ults ready and available. Linomoso's just looking for the angle for the Shurima shuffle.
Yeah, and there is something about Azir's that just about every Azir main knows. You can actually get over that worked Earth and drop your ult, I think, in the time before the tick to stun comes through. We've seen people buffer against it, so it's like, Elusive is playing with fire right there. Very, very scary. Either way, you are safe. It doesn't really matter right now. You're going back to your mid lane, and you have a couple members of your team around. Because of the lane swaps coming out here, we recognize that Sage as well as Dory holding it up on the top side, so Atsuo either gets a little bit more time to play or is going to get bullied out even harder in this position. Linomoso, though, walking straight into a bush. Ooh, I honestly thought Wet Dog was still there. No, our observer Shivam, by the way, amazing props to them, juked us out a little bit.
Yeah, and for Elusive, props to Elusive as well for having stalled long enough that his TP is about to come back up. So going for that recall timer right now. If it comes down to it, the Hard Rockers can look to contest grubs. I don't think that's really top of mind for them for now. Instead, Wet Dog maybe looking to try and punish Meme Boys down here. Flash to safety will be fine in this 1v2, but it is a bit harder for the Jace, I feel like. Well, actually, that's not true. Jace can just farm for range, but there is more kill threat onto the Jace than there is really onto that Gragas top side.
Yeah, and I mean, again, for this chase, every time you go into a lane swap situation, you know your main goal isn't to actually farm, isn't actually able to lay down damage, it's create space for your team, and that is what you have done. A massive gain, as we don't see a 2-1 split, it's a 3-0 split over to the side of Hurricanes as they take all 3 grubs, which now means a lot of their kill threat can lead into tower threat extremely quickly.
TCK on the wave, so they know that he's there. This would be a 2v2 situation, and I don't think the Hard Rockers want to risk it just yet. TCK happy to step up into this one.
The thoughts there, you can see both duos posturing for a potential fight, but Wet Dog doesn't really have the HP, and you know the CC chain that can come out can be disastrous. By the way, a little bit of a side note, Elusive having to buck their build just for a little bit, went for the Merc Shreds just to get a little bit of extra safety against Linamoso.
And I actually like the adaptation. You're mostly stuck in lane trading with the Azir right now. It's not benefiting you, so just try and survive. If not, you're going to be constantly pushed out. The Merc Treads, the extra bit of speed as well will hopefully keep you safe, and the tenacity. When the inevitable Sejuani gangs start to come through, or the Nico gangs, you might survive. Right there. Not for those Merc Treads. Maybe Elusive goes down. Maybe the damage is enough to take him out. Brought to just over 100 health.
Yeah, you're sweating off your brow, of course, and Bochi is like, dude, I was not able to get there fast enough. But Linamoso starting to get much more comfortable in the role. We mentioned before the ability for Linamoso to feel much better in the team fights, feel much better than just in game number one. Feels way more confident going for a solo engage with almost no vision on either side of the lane. That was just like, I can take it. Same with Dory, I guess, as they flashed in for a Pop Blossom and miss, like very, very willing to take these battles.
And I think they're trying to punish Compton as much as possible. Compton did have to flash to kind of survive that, so it is flashes traded, and generally it's kind of worth it. I don't know for the Nico specifically, because Pop Blossom is such a strong team fighting tool that can do so much. Dory caught out.
I mean, you really like it right now as you have no flash, no ult, no nothing. Great idea and great opportunistic value for the side of Hard Rockers. On the other side, Mean Boys, though, getting caught out inside of the alcove. Atsuo actually winning out on a dance, and the cast goes wide, though. I mean, you were baiting and baiting, and now Mean Boys is actually baiting on the other side. Good body block into the wall, though, but guess who's here to help out? A little bit of a knockback. Flashes up, dash to the side, but a knock underneath the tower. Do you get the last little shot? No, and body block out as Atsuo actually lives.
You had to burn everything, but still, yeah, Atsuo getting that Glacial Prison out, I think, is actually going to be massive. Dragon is about to spawn, and not only does CCK not have the ultimate, he's also on the wrong side of the map with a quick recall. Gonna have to come back down to that bot side. Do the Hard Rockers have vision control? Can they actually do this? Wet Dog thinking about starting the Dragon. That was actually in the pit for a second, but he went for the Trinity Force build, and he doesn't have Trinity Force completed just yet.
Oh dear lord. However, I do want to point out Linamoso was able to complete that Nashor's Tooth, which you mentioned earlier, has such a high output. I mean, Elusive even took 3 autos, even with Merc Treads, and lost about 30% of their HP. Dragon now started up, though. It is only a Cloud, and honestly, if you give this one over, it's not the worst. But TCK wants to do the exact same thing that they did before. Does have flash available, does have the opportunity. You wish to dash over the wall, you can. However, the wall comes out the Weavers this time. As Elusive says, no thank you. It will be a Chemtech Soul to play for, though. A little bit of longevity when it comes to battles.
And the tenacity is going to be huge for the Hard Rockers if they can actually get the Chemtech Soul there, especially with the CC that comes through from the Hurricanes being such a critical component to how they're going to win a lot of these fights. Mean Boys, not quite under turret with the explosive cask, but hey, at least it's showing us that Atsuo, the moment he picked up that Catalyst, the lane started going a lot smoother. Now that he's got the Rod of Ages stacking as well, he's going to be fine till the Ghost Blade completes for Mean Boys.
I like this call. You go ahead and clone out with the Sejuani. Nice crash down from Bochi. Hot Blossom coming out yet again. Dory, second time denied. Really, really well played coming out from Compton and Bochi.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Dory, just can't quite find the angle. Mean Boys.
Hello on the top side. 3 total for the side of Hard Rockers as they are making Mean Boys pay.
Smite it like a cap. And yeah, the Hard Rockers, their rotations have been really, really good. The gank setups along with Wet Dog has been spot on, whereas for the Hurricanes did really well early on. I still like their map movements and their laning, but they are struggling a little bit. Then I'm also, how did he get?
So I was watching the side because I saw it happening on the minimap. TCK ganked in mid lane and Elusive tried to dive tower. Linamoso just got away with it scot-free, though. The fact that you didn't get autoed at all.
Yeah.
Wild stuff there. So we are seeing those mix and match moments as topside is leaning into STM's favor, but University of Tulsa winning out on the mid lane.
We'll have to see if Linamoso can actually carry. And he's got the right champion for it for later team fights. But at least right now in the laning phase, I think Elusive has actually been doing a good job and is kind of okay with it. He's gone for a very, very passive build, so he's looking more at the mid game than anything else. And just being able to keep up in CS and keep your turret up is a win for Elusive right now.
Nice little blue buff takeaway. Wet Dog has been looking to be really, really aggressive in the topside enemy jungle because you won out against Mean Boy. And remember, they couldn't do this last time. For the Hard Rockers, they couldn't do this to Mean Boy last time because the Cassante was so far ahead in the CS department in just raw laning expertise. This time around, you're keeping a little bit better pace. So Wet Dog, this champion that, honestly, I would have liked to see the 7 kills from game number 1 on. You know, be like, hey, I got all these kills, you know, almost like a TCK did before. Might have been there. However, at this current moment, 1-0 and 2 has the Triforce ready to go and has boost ready to upgrade as well. Linamoso now dancing out against the shove. What a shove over the wall! Bochi now running into enemy territory. That's a solo kill coming out for Sage in the bottom side. Destructive work on either end. Wet Dog is looking for a little bit of revenge, but the cloak doesn't reach all the way, so Sage gets away with daylight robbery. But the robbery doesn't go well for Bochi as they are put in jail. That will be Dory to pick it up.
Mean Boys didn't get the assist. He missed the shock blast. They set it up for Mean Boys to pick up the kill, and he leaves lane. Doesn't get anything for it. That is so painful for this ace, but you know what? That's fine. Dory picking it up is better, I think, than TCK picking it up. Nico getting gold equals more damage. It's fine. Bot side, Wet Dog as well, just getting whatever chip damage he can. Unfortunately, we're past the 14-minute mark, and he doesn't get plates. He just gets a little bit of chip damage. He will lose out the Herald. He will lose his support. And Hurricanes, after a bit of a passive last couple of minutes, is right back on track.
I'm actually really excited about this because we haven't talked about it as much. We talked about some of the feats, but the feat of Monster Slaying went the way of the Hurricanes. Feat of Warfare went the way of Hard Rockers. Guess what's next on the list? For once, we might get a much bloodier battle as well, as the Herald is up and available this time for the side of the Hurricanes. But will they get a tower with it, as there's multiple locations you could go to? There's so many different options for either team.
Yeah, and boys.
He didn't take any tower shots, so we might be able to walk this out a little bit more. Bot side, though, we're seeing a shove, though, as they were chasing for that first tower. You know what? I talked about Herald. It didn't matter. I'm so sorry for the red herring. Linamoso, though, was able to pick up 1 kill on the back end. Bochi just trying to walk their way out. And they are going to be safe. However, what a toss. Compton sacrificing one for the team.
And Herald into the mid lane now, rather than a red herring orbital. It was foreshadowing between these teams. Dory able to dodge out. TCK is tanking up, or is he?
Oh, a whiff on the Glacial Prison, though, as Kaisa is trying to come around the side. And I don't think it's going to happen. Wet Dog saying, I got the fight. Pop Blossom, they'll get 2! And it sets up Linamoso. Linamoso says, what's up, Wet Dog? Grabbing all the hearts that they can and might be able to turn it around. There's even more as the shove follows through, and it's a double for Elusive yet again. A 1 for 4 in that battle alone, as that is Hard Rockers to take Dragon.
And it looked so clutch from Dory to get that huge Pop Blossom, but it's Wet Dog on this Viego we were talking about. Set him up, he'll knock him down, he'll be the carry, and he's able to clean house, get a couple more kills, and get a Dragon to boot. So Orbital, you kind of foreshadowed the race for turrets. I want to give props to Compton. He does die on that bot side, but he did it for the objective. He did it for the feats of strength, which is permanent, and because he died early, he's able to get back into that mid lane and potentially get another outer turret for his team.
Things are starting to shake into really nice spaces. That's a dodge, whether you meant it or not, by Mean Boys. No supposed to cast to wreck your life. However, we are seeing Atsuo start to be even tankier across, went straight for that second giant spell. By the way, Fimbulwinter getting completed very shortly.
There's that tap build we were talking about. He'll have a little bit of AP as well, and I'm liking it. It's giving him a lot of sustain. You're seeing that, yes, Atsuo's health is low, but you got to remember with the Gragas, if you don't have that immediate kill threat onto him, it's the mana bar you need to watch, because his abilities will give him that healing, that regeneration. You can see he went from, what was that, a quarter of his health, now to about 2/3 of his health. He's right back to it, whereas Mean Boy, he used a lot of mana for his trades, and that's not coming back anywhere near as fast as Atsuo's health bar.
Yeah, Went for the Yomu's, a little extra speed in there, just trying to rush your way around. Is able to complete that mana immune. Only, I believe, 18 stacks left to full completion. Both top laners breaking into their second items as we take stock of the rest of the map, though. Linamoso sitting on an item and a half, looking for that massive AP bonus at the end. But the gold itself swinging into multiple different directions. It's actually Wet Dog sitting at almost 8k for their own.
And the biggest gold differential between the two teams in the jungle role right now, where Red Dog has 1,400, whereas for the Hurricanes, it's a little bit more split between both their solo lanes. Despite the 2 deaths onto Meme Boys, he is still ahead of Atsuo right now. The problem is, he's on a carry, which needs more gold. Atsuo is on a more utility-based pick. Like, tanks don't require as much gold to be functional, and the Rod of Ages is already stacking, so Atsuo is only going to get more effective as the time ticks on, as that Rod of Ages continues to stack.
It's going to feel so good for Atsuo, who, once again, bullied back in game number 1. The rest of the team is now coming up to deal with you, and Atsuo has dealt with this quite well before, but this is now a whole different beast to play with. However, the ward is going to be more than enough. Very comfortable in clearing that one out. Atsuo full HP, rest of the team is around. TP actually used by Linamoso to get back to mid, so it is a full give of the tower on the top side. I like this call by Hard Rockers, saying we don't want to deny as long as we don't lose HP. They can't force the tower down just yet.
Hurricanes aren't focused on that turret. They want to get a pick and they want to facilitate this Atacon.
Oh?
TP.
What?
Wall cutting off.
I love this
Meme Boys.
split. Meme Boy just gets a tower and feels half a weight of what Compton
Boji?
did. Pop awesome on the other side, though, as this is Seisha run to safety. Linamoso right in the middle, trying to play smart. Gets the Shurima shuffle off, but that's a chase by Wet Dog. Execution over the wall as Hard Rockers are rocking this world with a triple and an ace for Wet Dog.
Hard Rockers are not going down without a fight orbital. They're able to use all the agency. Their team is giving them a beautiful Weaver's Wall from Elusive to kick things off. And we were just saying Hurricanes aren't focused on the turret, but apparently Meme Boys didn't get the memo because he was alone, overextended, and punished. And the resulting fight, the engage from Doherty kind of looked good. Bochi was really up, and it kind of looked dicey for Bochi for a little bit. But the team was able to find their way in. Both Sage and Linamoso, pardon me, didn't have anybody to protect them from the damage that just ripped right through them.
We talked about damage overload for a few of these players, and it seems like Hard Rockers are doing quite well in their own. I also mentioned for Wet Dog, the fact that you're not playing with your regular mid laner, we want to see a little bit more explosiveness. We want to see that carry potential, and they're showing it here on the Viego. 605 went straight for that Lord Dom's Regards, said, I'm going to shred whoever stands before me. Straight up pickaxe plus a quiver in the back pocket. Massive golden plus.
And for the Hard Rockers right now, we are focused more on Wet Dog because obviously he's being a massive carry. And I think Elusive and Atso are playing very well around him to set him up for success. But don't forget Compton, because the Sivir is slowly scaling up. 2 items completed already, and while I think Sage will handle the 1v1 just fine, in team fights, this Sivir can do a lot of damage if you lose track of her. They need to continue focusing her down the same way the Hard Rockers have been focusing down Nimoso in a lot of these team fights.
"23 minutes into the game, halfway or close to what we had in game number 1. And we're right back to the position that I feel like we were before. One team getting a little bit of a significant lead, but they start hesitating toward that mid game, and it gets a little bit more dicey. See what happens as Bochi kind of dancing in between the jungle routes, especially with Chemtech. It's a little bit blurry on how far you can go in some of these bushes. However, over the wall, that blast cone is going to do enough to send you skyward. Bochi losing a decent amount of your HP. As Dragon is up and teams are vying.
TP being committed from Atsuo here. The Hard Rockers want to make a statement. They can find kills. They can really run away with this. But for now, they've been zoned out, and Red Dog cannot be the one to initiate. We saw that last game, even more so this game on Viego.
Yeah, I'm almost looking at Linamoso trying to get an Azir shuffle off. Maybe you can get a little bit of fun there, but you don't really have the oomph with the Rabadons at the end that would really secure the team fight for you. So I wonder if you're just going to play on the long end About 30 seconds have expired so far. Sage making sure the mid lane is pressured up, so both teams just kind of holding this line. I wonder how long it's going to go for.
Well, depends on how patient these teams are, right? Dragon is up right now. They just haven't turned for it. They are pushing, actually, Hard Rockers really far back, which is quite impressive when they're down 3,000 gold. And the poke we talked about from Sage and Meme Boys is doing a lot of work. Look at that shock blast to the back, and Wet Dog is out of the fight. Yeah, that's what they needed. That's what they're waiting for. And the vision that Ward gave them, that's the go signal on this Dragon.
Yep. Not only that, double autos coming out of Linamo, so we're starting to see that break point for both squads. Dragons ahoy for both ends. Atsuo saying, I can rock out, of course, but not exactly as well as any other KDA member. And so we go back to a little bit of an even state. I love the fact that he called out it's a 3K difference, though, in favor of Hard Rockers after that teamfight win. It was huge. Oh, do it too? No, not a dance. I thought it was actually the clone, and then my eyes were like, oh, yeah, most Nicos would do that. Dory's back with their ADC and not trying to get silly with it.
Yeah, and especially with the Sivir, it is a little bit hard for Dory to try and find the solo engage, as we saw. Even if you're willing to trade flash for flash, if you flash in and your AD carry can't keep up, if Sage doesn't have the tag landed to be able to use the kill instinct in right away, Compton can just spell shield and walk away and be fine. At most, maybe burn an on the hunt defensively, which has a much shorter cooldown than that flash. So I think Dory kind of doing the right thing there, not overcommitting, just kind of showing face a little bit just to make sure that Sage is safe to farm.
That's the right call to make as we see all the lanes being cleared once again. This is that kind of downtime where neither team is really looking at Baron, but they still don't feel strong enough to really contest anything, so they're just like kind of wandering around the map a little bit, just looking for an opportunity. No real major set plays just yet. It's a calm period, one that I think we drastically need considering how these teams play the late game and looking to scrap at almost every turn.
Or they're just waiting to go 50 minutes again, and then it will be one big team fight in 50 minutes decides the game.
What are we back in season 8?
I didn't hate that season, to be honest.
Same. I played Vigar back then. I played Vigar like out of this world. I love that.
Just hated the Ardent Sensor like Jinx bit of it, but everything else was like kind of fine.
Oh yeah.
And for this game as well, so far the objectives are split kind of 50-50. 2 drags, 2 either side. We're seeing turrets as well being very, very close. 3 for Hard Rock and 2 for the Hurricanes. So things are pretty dead even. The gold is kind of fake because of how these teams interact. So let's break that down a little bit. As we saw with the Dragon, the poke for Hurricanes means that as long as they can stop the engage, they're kind of good to go. And for the side of the Hard Rockers, they don't have the best engage. Bochi has to run in face first, and it did work a couple of times. Like, Bochi's been doing a good job finding the engage angles, but it is kind of tough, and that's why that Sejuani Jace pairing was so strong, because TCK defensively can deny a lot of the engages. So what does that mean for Hard Rockers? Well, I kind of need to see Elusive get a little bit more creative with the Weaver's Wall. That topside fight that it catapulted them into the 3K lead was off finding a pick with the Weaver's Wall. You don't need to use it at a 5-man sort of team fight. You can just use it to punish the split push that Meme Boys is always going to be looking for. That heck, Linomoso is actively looking for. Linomoso's a little bit harder because it's usually Elusive matching, and Elusive needs to be the extra body.
That's a great way to catch him, though. Compton having to burn that flash. No barrier utilized, but the fight has kind of broken out here. And I like that we've seen an answer, but Elusive says, I want a little bit more. Pop Blossom on 4, but is there the damage follow-up? Yes, there is, but only for a brief moment. There's the shove as Emperor Dies come through. But it's Wet Dog that says, I am the one who barks. Massive damage rolls out. A Meme Boy has to run. It was a fight that the Hurricane wanted, but it was a fight that the Hard Rockers ended.
It was kind of the game plan we called for. Elusive with another great Weaver's Wall to get in there, break up the fight, and get advantage. Maybe not on the lane I was thinking of, but going on Compton, we talked about how hard it is for Dory. Well, it's not that much easier for TCK. The ambush was great. Glacial Prison came out of absolutely nowhere, but they took too long, and Wet Dog is just so fed that he's able to pop all these squishies and leave TCK for later.
Top laners dancing at it. Natsuo getting some revenge for game 1. There it is with the solo, and this feels like a much more controlled game for the side of the Hard Rockers.
Which is funny and kind of ironic, right? The composition is not the most controlled composition. It's not, front to back. It's not wombo combo. No, it's a lot of agency. It's chaotic, and the more chaotic, low-key, the better the fight is for Hard
Yeah.
Rockers. But they're looking really good in how they're executing it, and we talked about this, right? Enable Wet Dog to pop off. That's a big win con, and huge props to Atsu for being that utility top laner. The lane matchup was really hard, but he's kind of past the hardest part of it. And the flasks, you know, the body slams, just disrupting the way that the Hurricanes want to play, and just making sure that their carries, not just the AD carries, but even Linamoso, is not able to just stand there and fight, is everything that the Hard Rockers need.
Not only that, the fact that Atsuo has been able to do that for free, 0 deaths so far in this game, massive boon for them. Dragon now started up by the Hard Rockers as they chase on in for that soul point. We are definitely close to another 7 Dragon game, which would be hilarious to watch if we did, but it is going to be soul point for the side of SDM, as they're looking to try and use this double buffed up angle for themselves. Minute and a half left on this Baron buff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're seeing 7 Drakes overall. If we do, Hard Rockers would have had to have quite a swing happen. And the way they're playing right now, I just don't think it will. Even here, setting up onto Mean Boys potentially. They could go for a dive. This Jace is not tanky whatsoever.
No, that's actually what the lineup is. Here comes
There we go.
the squad. Massive blast cone because of the Chemtech range. Poor Mean Boys has no out, as that is the meanest jump I have seen yet in this series.
Literally playing Ring Around the Rosie. Compton on the other side though, but Bochi's there, and now it's TCK in trouble.
Look at this, TCK, no dice to play in. Linamoso trying to
they
save
got
their
baited.
jungler. Magnet Storm just because, by the way. Nasty work for the Hard Rockers, as they have so much space to take these towers.
Yeah, and it's just the way, you know, they were coming in one after another on both these teams, but it was Hard Rockers with the initial advantage moving first, and they win that out. Atsuo just split pushing on this bot side with that Baron buff, and it's so efficient. They're going to be able to crack 2, maybe more if they can find Dory. Dory with the Tango Barb is going to stay alive for now, but watch the base fall into shambles.
It hurts. You want to try and fight it, but it's on the void of your own, of the opposing team to decide, is the base going to stand or fall? 2 inhibitors taken. A lot of gold section back in, and RMC, we have the largest gold lead that I think I've seen all series long now at
Yep.
10K, namely 10.3. You can see everyone on the side of Hard Rockers feasting out.
The closest lane being the mid lane right now. Linamoso still a huge carry threat in his own right. And that's why I'm lauding, you know, what Atsuo is able to do, what Bochi's been able to do, because they're the ones making sure that Linamoso can't just stand there with the Nash's Tooth and cut through everybody, and then Wet Dog is just able to jump right over the Emperor's Divide using the Heartbreaker. Even if it doesn't execute Linamoso, he's already so low that a couple autos will do the job. Linamoso, he's got flash, won't be enough.
Yeah, he's trying. Flashes over to his soldier, still gets stunned on the work earth, and you are just gone. The turned stones do work, and it's yet again another carry gone for this side of the Hurricanes.
Oh, not just any carry overall, the carry, because unfortunately for Sage, she's not on her usual skilling teamfight picks. You don't pick Kaisa for the team fight, you pick her for the pick, and she's not been able to find that all game.
Well, okay, we give credit. Was able to pick off Compton in the early game. We didn't get to see it,
Sure.
but did get a solo
Sure.
kill. So, but that's the thing.
fair.
It was just the early game. Still leaning to your point. I don't know why I brought that up, but you know, we give small credit where credit
to
is
give
due.
her credit, yeah, no, Sage should work early, that's right.
Yeah, looking at this top side though, the tower is slowly being worked away in its own right. This is the last one, and you can see poor Sage having to hold off on the bot side, taking care of the super minions. As this is just Hard Rockers, like, we got all day. There are no global objectives coming up, maybe one in a minute and a half. Elusive is actually looking for a wall here to section everyone out. And it's actually just being used to make sure to take that tower. I don't disagree with that one.
Yeah, I mean, you take that, and if the Hurricanes don't respect that, they could get caught on open ground. Back pings coming through, though, as the Hard Rockers, you know, they don't want to overextend, overstay their welcome, and get punished. Great timing and great awareness as well from them, as Baron is spawning in a minute. And given what they've been able to find on the last Baron, one more Baron would allow them to push into base, take out the last inhibitor, and start setting up a siege on the Nexus turrets themselves.
All right. Now we just sit and wait. I don't know what else to say, RMC, because this is that point where it seems so blatantly obvious what needs to happen next. They just need a little bit of time. They just need that minute to walk down lane. They just need that minute to get over to the dragon. They just need that minute to get over to Baron. 30 seconds actually, as that's about to spawn up. There's not much else to really say until that big break comes, unless the Hurricanes have something to say. I really do wonder if they are gonna have a chance to fight back.
Not at Dragon, I don't think. I know this
Yeah.
is Soul for Hard Rockers if they get it. I just don't think the Hurricanes, this is the hill for them to die on. The Dragon's not giving them any buffs. You're looking at Baron as a potential point to kind of turn things around. And in the meantime, they're just kind of waiting for the inhibitors to respawn. It's really unfortunate with the way the minions have changed as well, that the minions crash at different times. So on that topside siege, for example, Sage had to go answer bot and then answer mid. So she was not going to be topside anytime soon, which is why Hard Rockers felt so comfortable just dropping the wall to confirm the turret instead of holding it for any potential sort of engage. So they really need those inhibitors before they can start contesting. Vision dropped a little bit. They're up there right now, but yeah, if TCK is not careful, TCK could go down. That's a very long way from home.
Actually, Chase coming out here as the Weaver's Wall once again keeps everyone away. Flash over the wall for TCK, but the bot side is where the top laners are currently at. Weaver's Wall, though, burning that Flash plus charge out means that the Hurricanes really can't even step up for the Baron. You talk about dying on this hill. There is no hill for them to even get close to. TCK trying to walk their way in, but shoved straight out of lane. Bochi goes in with a 3-man Magnus Sword. Pop Blossom on the back just to deny a little bit longer. And they're going to try their best. Sage tried to hone on in with the kill instinct, but at this point, it is just their own demise. Wet Dog is legendary and unkillable. Why are you running for... you know what? Take the easy route. Sure, it's not going to live that much longer either. This is Hard Rockers sealing this game 2 away.
Yeah, the Baron might actually be more efficient if they take it, and then they'll be able to push in. 30 seconds for Sage to come back up. TCK 15, so slightly desynced death timers to come through. Elusive teleporting to rejoin the team. It'll be a one big push coming through from the Hard Rockers. Inhibitor instantly melting as it respawns.
Feels so bad. This is going to be that last hurrah. But they're opting to go a super safe route. So they're not going for the 75% chance of winning, which I'm sure that they have right now. They're going for the 90% chance, which is going to eat up another minute or so. I'm not disagreeing. I just think that they're being overly cautious right now.
You know what? Instead of percentages overall, I'm looking at a time. Rather than closing out the window, the 30-second window they had, they've now given Hurricanes a minute window to play around. All 5 members are up potentially, and it is worth noting that the siege from the Hard Rockers is not necessarily the best. They have some poke from Atso,
That's fair.
but he's gone mostly well, actually I can't even say he's going mostly tank because he only built the Thimble Winter and then he's got a Lichbane Cosmic Drive, so he does have a little bit of poke to come through, but besides that, you're just kind of relying on Elusive, and Elusive didn't go the Leandri's build, so it's more about instant pop than actual siege.
A lot of gold being funneled into these carries. Meme Boy trying his best to clear the wave. Cannon Minion, empowered, of course, firing away on this topside tower. But, I mean, this is so split. I am kind of curious why we aren't seeing that full lean by the way of Hard Rockers as they've kind of let both waves die on the top side. Honestly, a lot of gold actually funneling back into the Hurricane here. Now we get that full charge. Weaver's Wall coming up. That's what they were waiting for. I like that play. Safety call for 90 minutes. Let's see if they can get the inhibitor as well.
Sun Disc was used by Linimoso earlier in the mid lane. They won't have that. This is open ground, and TCK is tanky, but he can get shredded. That was what kicked off the last Baron. Explosive cast, not finding the target, disengage, and it's going to be double supers coming in on the next wave that spawns, and that's really the big siege that the Hard Rockers will want to capitalize on.
They leave once again. They just want to hit 50 minutes, I think. I think they just want to hit 50 minutes. Yeah. That or Compton is like, dude, I'm not Smolder, so I really want to hit 6 items. Like, I really want to hit 6 items. So can we just, like, I want to sell my Doran's Blade that I've held for 38 minutes, by the way. Props to Compton for doing that. I just want to point that out. Most people would have sold at like 25.
You know what? If Compton was holding a blue pot, which I know doesn't exist anymore,
Oh,
or a cull.
We're
for
just
38 minutes.
old
I'd be more
now.
impressed.
They removed that a while ago, man. You're drawing that
Has it
out.
been that long,
Oh.
actually?
It's been a very long time. Blue pot hasn't been in the game for ages, man.
You start with a lucky blue pot when you're running Garen or Katarina.
That was the very definition of screw this, I know I win if you ran a blue pot on Garen or Katarina. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
I think
as
it
you
has
mentioned,
been a
though,
while. I swear though, like now you got me. I'm gonna have to look that up later.
no, don't expose me on stream. I don't remember when it came out. Obviously, I didn't buy it. I don't remember when you took it out.
Here's the deal. I remember Wriggle's Lantern, if we're going how late we can go right now. I remember Wriggle's Lantern that caused havoc for junglers to just say, I'm going to play a separate game than y'all, and then when I farm 30 camps, it's done. Like, that's
man, talk to me about bank blank. And then
True. Either way, the bank could be made as the Hard Rockers are hopefully high rollers. This is now the second siege that they are attempting. Are they actually looking for Elder right now?
I feel like that's actually kind of risky. If you are waiting for Elder at that point, because Elder is one of those big flip conditions, and if TCK managed to steal it, like he did that second Drake back in game 1, that could be a turning point. There's a lot of bounties on the side of the Hard Rockers right now, which can be taken away. But also, Hurricanes need to be able to leave their base. They are just kind of stuck on wave clear duty at this point. Mid's got the Sun Disc, but that's expiring soon, and Hard Rockers are happy to just sit and wait, marauding in the enemy jungle, looking for that pick to kick off the endgame.
Now they get some information. Wet Dog is spotted out in the enemy side jungle. What a shot though. Linomoso has to run, and that should make damage dealer. Magstorm not going to land as all the flashes come out of the world. Out goes the slide of the soldiers, but it is going to be Mean Boys who falls. More will falter as poor Sage cannot stay alive with that GA. Pop Blossom used as that Suo hangs on the bottom side. This is the destruction that Hard Rockers are waiting for 41 minutes. They will fight back in Act 2 and force us to a finale. GG's as we tied on up.
Orbital, we misunderstood the game plan all along. It wasn't about Baron. It wasn't about Elder. It wasn't about the siege. It was about maximal mental destruction. They gave hope to the Hurricanes that maybe you could look at the Elder, and then they went, no, you got caught. We'll wipe you out. And huge props on Elusive for being the one to actually kick off that final pick. It was him getting that seismic shove that got that pick onto Linomoso and just kicked off the rest of the charge to chase down to be able to end that game. But dominant game from Hard Rockers. Great bounce back. I question whether or not their mental would be a little bit tilted from game 1.
Yep.
Evidently not.
Very, very controlling, and honestly, it was well fought overall. Elusive still looking very comfortable in this mid lane role. I think we give a lot of credit there, and we should. But Wet Dog really popping off this carry that we mentioned that we didn't really get to see fully in game number 1. Now fully exposed as the carries as they wanted. The Viego looks so good. I'm excited for game number 3, so let's go ahead, head to a short break, allow the teams time to ramp back up, see if there's a side swap, see if there's a change. We'll see it all in just a bit.
Before falling faster, I try to ignore. I see you, I see you. I'll let you drag me to hell if you hold my hand. show that I'm out of time. See a shadow, don't know if it's mine, but I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you. has me wondering. Thought that I had figured it out. Nothing could get through to me, but this kind of chemistry has me wondering. When you're not around it, all goes black and white. How come I'm not seeing in color? Lost without you, I can't make it through the night. How come I'm not seeing in color? How come I'm not seeing in color? How come I'm not seeing color? So far gone, I'm caught up, infatuated by our symmetry. It feels like before now, I was only half of me. Thought that I had figured it out, never felt it rationally, but this sense of urgency has me wondering. Thought that I had figured it out, nothing could get through to me, but this kind of chemistry has me wondering. When you're not around it, all goes black and white. How come I'm not seeing in color? Lost without you, I can't make it through the night. How come I'm not seeing in color? How come I'm not seeing in color? So far gone. Go on myself. I'm cold, steel, stainless. My glass half full. Always said, don't suffer no fools. Serpents, daydream. I bite, you call me lovely. Got a sweet tooth. Gonna get the sugar from you. When they say I'm a machine gun, I take it as a compliment. Honey, you should know I can be a weapon. I can be a weapon. Kinda cold-blooded, selfish. Your words are painless. I like when I drive.
No more ad reads, no more messing around. It is time to lay it all on the battlefield. We have had over hour and 30 minutes of gameplay so far as teams have worked their way across the rift, and I say that with all the love in my heart, because I love long games and I love when it comes to a close in amazing fashion. These two teams have battled it out throughout the Rift, and we're ready for game number 3.
Well, Orbital, maybe one more shenanigans. After all, there's one more game to go to decide this. And one of these teams will be handed their first series loss. Now, I did get word that Genesis might actually be back for game 3, which is stunning. I mean, huge props to Elusive. We've sung his praises all throughout the series. I think he's done a phenomenal job kind of subbing in, and that Talia, like we said, did work in that game, finding those picks in the first game. The Aurora as well was why they kind of held through that mid game. But let's talk Genesis, because if he does come back in, he is the player who was kind of identified as a big win point, as a big carry for the Hard Rockers. And he's a little bit different. It's not so much about the early game or mid game with him. It's all about that late game. Things like Silas, like Yone, like Victor, like Kassadin that he's actually played here in the NECC as well. And that makes the game kind of a ticking time bomb at that time. I'm curious to see how the Hurricanes deal with it, because the Hurricanes seem to have had a little bit of issues right now trying to shut down big carries. Heck, even in game 1, the Hurricanes also kind of struggled a little bit to shut down the smolder that Compton was on. And they did ultimately do it, but there's a reason why that game went 50 minutes.
Yeah, it was rough overall. Compton got off to such a flying start, and it was just a small step out of the battle lines that really saw that game come to a close, or we could have seen a 2-0 here for the side of the Suburbs Hard Rockers. So looking at game number 3, I am curious which sides they have selected, especially because it would be the Hurricanes deciding. If they are looking, it is Tulsa
so
that
they
picked
went
red side. Yeah, so that'll be, okay, counter pick option available. But again, opportunities abound for the craziness to occur. I don't know. Like, that Genesis is throwing me off, man. Like, it is solely throwing me off to have this so late in the series. Like, it's such a mind boggler.
Good effective use of subs. To be fair, it wasn't that they subbed out Genesis as a loss, like sort of a ace up their sleeve or anything. I think Genesis just wasn't able to make it for the first couple of games, so glad he's back. But like you said, it is throwing a huge curveball. And let's talk Hurricanes for a second, because game 2, I like their composition. I actually thought it was a really good composition, which had a lot of different outs, a lot of different ways to win the game. But it just felt like the mid-game execution kind of fell apart, and I'm not really sure where to pinpoint that. Like, yes, on one hand, Elusive started getting around the map and doing a lot more work, but also it felt like Meme Boys kind of lost the ability to play out that lane. The Jace kind of fell behind and then just got caught out a couple of times. Then Amoso wasn't playing like a team fight sort of champion. Like, he was out there and getting caught a little bit as well. I think TCK and Dory did the best, but yeah, it just felt like things kind of fell apart. And going into game 3, I'm curious what sort of adaptation they've got now that they've got counterpick. Do they give Meme Boys an actual counterpick? Because last time he had to pick the Jace blind, and the Gragas that Atsuo had seemed to have a very nice matchup in the mid game against him.
Yeah, I mean, the Nullifier, we have to give credit because Atsuo played the tank role fairly okay. And we mentioned before that, again, this is a player. Atsuo is not one that's known to be able to be like that star all the time. Atsuo, as we said before, has been, maybe a little bit of a weak point for the team, but has really stepped up in that regard. And that game number 2, I think, was a huge one, playing alongside Wet Dog when Genesis wasn't there. That's actually a lane matchup that allowed Wet Dog to get a little bit more of a lead. So looking into this game number 3, now that Genesis is back, maybe Atsuo's back on that play for your own life. Good luck with that one. However, going into this game number 3, immediately the Udyr is banned out. So obviously the Hurricanes are saying, look, we can't really hand this over to you. If we do, we're in trouble.
More than a weak point, I think he just gets weak-sided a lot, right? We've seen this Gwen ban throughout this entire series, and that's a carry champion. Obviously, they respect the potential for Atsuo to just kind of pick this Gwen and maybe run amok with it, and hence why we're constantly seeing that ban. Likewise, you see the Braum come through against Dory once again, and I like the call. I think it's been quite effective in making Sage a little bit more vulnerable to all the damage that's coming through, and if she is not being defended by Dory, then it's that much harder for her to try and carry the fights, especially when she was on something like the Kaisa, which in the first place isn't the best team fighter.
Yeah, it's just there, and I do want to see if that Jinx is going to come on out. However, a Kled ban to land on the tables here. I like this call out. Listen, if we're going to go funky in game number 3, we're going to go funky in game number 3. What's the third ban coming out for the Hurricanes? I got to see what
Graves.
this one is. Come on, throw us. Oh, I wanted to see Silly. I mean, if you get a Kled ban, like, got to throw something back, but the Graves makes sense.
It's kind of funny too, because the Kled was played by Mean Boys in the past, and it was actually the one game they lost against Kansas Crimson. So funny that they did ban it, but there you go. There's the big pick, Orbital, and that was the one they banned in Game 1 and Game 2, and I questioned it so much for Hard Rockers, but I guess it's allowed them to have it available for this critical Game 3, and declared as well, removing that potentially a matchup that maybe Atsu was not as familiar or comfortable with. Now it's on Mean Boys. He plays in best of 2. So does he have an answer for his most played champion?
Well, we'll have to wait and see, as obviously the Nautilus comes out. They are saying, hey, Dory, we really need to get you on a comfort pick here because we are going to go for a little bit more of the engage. There's going to be that Aatrox that you and I were talking about a little bit earlier. Mean Boys going in for that damage shred, and this is going to be a much more conventional bruiser matchup for us to take a look at this game around.
Yeah, this matchup does get played quite a bit, and Bessa has the mobility to dodge out the sweet spots, but Aatrox is huge in team fights, and also some of those hitboxes get pretty large later on. Now, Leona being picked up, so both these teams indexing in for a huge brawl right now. Or I'm going to call it now. Sage on Zaya just looks really nice. Kindred for Wet Dog, I love it. We got some carry on the Viego last game, and you want to give him carries, Kindred fits the bill.
Yeah, not only that, a lot of safety in there. The Lamb's Respite means that you don't get a freebie in terms of kill if you can bring it out. That is a Jax to rock on. I love this. TCK. So, by the way, someone in chat made me and RMC a little bit silly here by saying TCK on a tank and ran off on saying, hey, TCK, get back on the carries there. Go ahead and bring the Jax. I love this call.
Yeah, and I was curious because TCK is really good at engaging for the team, but he himself in solo queue is a big carry player. So I was curious if they'd give him, having seen what Wet Dog was able to do on a carry, if they're going to let TCK kind of say, okay, you know what, let's hand check each other. You're a carry, so am I. I'll show you that I can carry as well, if not better than you can. And it looks like they've given him that champion. Jax can still engage with the Counter-Strike as well, and into the Kindred specifically. Kindred is a marksman. She wants to auto-attack. Jax can counter-strike, so it's a great pick for the team, for the player, and as a counter pick as well into the Kindred.
Yep, there are also those mid lane bans that you and I were talking about. With Genesis now into the mix, you have to ban away the Cassidy, you have to ban away the Silas, some of the most highly played champions of Genesis. However, Genesis has also floated a massive champion pool. We were trying to double check, see how many champions was played. Too many to count. Multiple mid lane bans though, as right now, Linomoso losing out on that Syndra on the flip side, or actually no, Linomoso actually got the Syndra. Man, my brain is all over the place, but the Anivia and Hui both denied, saying, look, you're not going to get that AoE, you're not going to get that crowd control, and it is going to be another IC champion to come out, Sage on the Ashe.
So far, again, I couldn't find their first week games, but besides the first week, Genesis has actually not played the same champion more than once. So he's played a bunch of unique champions, and this is another one, Galio. He has not played that. Again, don't know about week 1, but aside from week 1, he has not played the Galio. Very interesting. We're talking about Genesis as a late game carry. That's not a late game carry.
Yeah, it's not. And I also misspoke because I was Compton on the Ashe, and there's that Sage Zaya that you were talking about, RMC. Gotta play safe, gotta play smart, and gotta keep yourself comfortable in this matchup. We have a lineup once again, and it does look like a meeting of massive boulders like we saw in game number 1 all over again.
Yeah, it's worth noting that there aren't really true tanks either, or big scaling tanks. Galio, a lot of times we'll see him index more towards AP with a little bit of tankiness on the side. Again, Genesis being a carry player, I'd be surprised if we see him go more for the tanky build than the AP with a little bit of tank come through. And they've got the Kindred as well. Kindred, I don't want to call them makes people tanky, but extends your life, right? So it acts as a pseudo tank, as another way to give that extra bit of health for your team with the Lamb's Respite as well. And then you look over the side of the Hurricanes, and the only tank they've got is Nautilus. Yes, Aatrox gets kind of bulky, but he's really more about doing damage. So I'm liking the matchups overall. I think this is a great way to end the series in a critical game 3. We're seeing damage come through from both teams. I don't expect it to be a lot of downtime. I expect to see the two teams just kind of going at each other in every single lane, right? If we do start to see side laning happen, I would expect to see the junglers be getting in there ASAP, and Bessa into Aatrox as well can be very volatile. So yeah, blood all over the rift. That's my expectation.
I love it. Listen, and I hope it comes a little bit faster pace as well. I want to see blood scattered across the floor. I want to see the rivers running red, even though we did lose out on some of the Noxium map agency once again. I wish it were back, but again, I do agree that it is going to be a little bit bloody, and I especially am looking at Genesis now and Lunamoso in that mid lane, because Lunamoso has had ups and downs in there. I do expect them to almost want to show up against Genesis, even though we know Genesis is a massive, massive player for the team. I wonder if Lunamoso right now on this Syndra is going to be playing a little bit more for themselves. If true, I really hope they can show up here in game number 3.
Yeah, and one thing to note as well was the fact that I do think the Hurricanes were preparing to play against a lineup which included Genesis. So game 1 and game 2, they kind of had to change game plans on the fly. They might actually be more comfortable in draft, and the Galio might actually be a specific answer into what they thought Lunamoso, or pardon me, the other way around. The Syndra might be a sort of counter that into what they were expecting Genesis's champion pool to potentially be. We do see, as the lights toggle off, that the Hurricanes are playing defensively, but the Hard Rockers were grouped up and potentially looking for a 5-man.
I mean, they're wondering. I don't disagree with it. You have all the CC in the world. Fog is dark right now. Once again, Dory hiding out, but no, they don't. Okay. We thought they were, and honestly, it's not a bad idea, but they would have to have pushed very quickly for that.
Fair enough. I mean, there was that sort of one entrance that wasn't being covered by the side of the Hurricanes there. So I was wondering if they could maybe sneak around, maybe get behind Dory and put Dory in a really awkward position. But yeah, they didn't ultimately end up pulling the trigger. And I wonder if they'll regret that, because waiting, if the game ends up going slow, I think the Hurricanes are going to be very, very comfortable. Literally every single member of that team scales very, very well. Nautilus being the worst scaler, and supports kind of get to scale a bit longer than everybody else just because they go slower, so it takes them more time to hit full build. Whereas for the Hard Rockers, Galio doesn't scale that incredibly well, unfortunately. And Bessa's big spike is on her one item power spike as well. The Kindred will scale. The Ashe will scale. But will they scale as well as the likes of, a Jax, plus the Aatrox, plus the Syndra that will one-shot people later and or force Lamb's Respite right from the get-go?
Would be rough to see a lot of those safety mechanisms being drawn so early on. Meme Boys, though, up on the top side, level 1, but still drawing a lot of extra damage. Mimoso in the mid lane doing the exact same. Genesis, though, first game back for the team, at least for this series, has been a massive part of everyone's moving forward. Level 2, though, on the bot side, forcing a cleanse coming out of Sage, and Compton saying, okay, we got the cleanse. Let's look at some extra damage down on Dory, as that was a volley of like 7, I think, coming out of Compton there. That was massive damage.
That was a lot. And the Ashe Leona combo is sort of an ancient one. It used to be a kill lane. At level 6, you've got a lot of CC to lock down a single target, and if they're kind of vulnerable or squishy, they're just going to get absolutely melted. Sage having to burn the cleanse early on. It will be back up by level 6, but kind of isn't a good sign for what's to come once the CC really starts to dogpile in. And the other thing that is an issue is a lot of times between these sort of engaged supports, Nautilus and Leona especially, they go in. They don't really come back out once they use their engages. So if you fall behind, you tend to stay behind and feel very, very useless in that lane.
Sorry, I was watching Bochi quite literally walk in the bush, walk out the bush, walk in the bush, walk out the bush. Doesn't really care at all. That's going to be a taunt, though, as Genesis is rounding out heavily on top of Lunamoso, having been taunted out and everything. No mana really to play with. These are getting to be spicy lanes overall. On the bot side, though, our eyes are still drawn. Compton damaging back as Bochi took a brunt of that earlier damage. Junglers now meeting on the bot side of the map, though. And that's what they're looking at here. Both junglers, I don't think, actually saw each other. So that's what they're playing for. TCK, good ward to go down as the ADCs and bot laners actually dance it out. Dory goes in, recognizes that they can't stay here. Flash out, but a flash in by TCK as the counter-strike actually misses Bochi. For a chance at the Zenith play, and they find it, and there's no flash on TCK. Good job by Genesis. This is his first blood and a mark to Wet Dog.
And in the jungler carry challenge, it is Wet Dog coming away with the first blood and the win, saying, I showed you my carry last game, and I'll show it to you again in the third game of this best of 3, third and final game in Orbital. That is huge for the side of the Horde Rockers to get off to that early start. We talked about the scaling. Doesn't necessarily favor them getting late, so every little bit of early advantage they can get is big.
Good win for them. Something that I have to say also involved every single member of the team outside of Atsuo. That's Feels so good. It means Genesis is also going to be much more active on the map. This is something that I was very curious about when we saw Elusive. Elusive definitely stuck in lane a little bit more, was a little bit hesitant to roam out even on the Talia. Genesis is like, dude, I don't care. I'm going to scrap everywhere. I've barely gotten my fill of League of Legends Day. Give me my fill of League.
True, he wants to get in there, and I love that sort of idea, that mentality, because again, you're picking the Galio. That's not a big carry champion necessarily. TCK drops the word to hop over.
What did I just say, RMC? What did I just say? Look at them. They don't care. They're straight. Look at Genesis. Genesis is body blocking. I love this dude.
Yeah, why not? Again, he's not the big carry. Topside though, Meme Boy with the solo kill onto Atsuo. Let's talk top lane for a sec, because Mbessa was the big contested pick in this series, and in fact we saw Hard Rockers ban it in Game 1 and Game 2 themselves, blue or red. But it's also going to be the first time this series that Atsuo is not playing a more utility or defensive champion. With the Mbessa, you can't afford to fall behind too much. You need to be a carry, you need to be a threat. There is no nullifying or neutralizing with this Mbessa pick.
Well, he isn't. So to have a loss there, and also meet back with the damage as Meme Boy throwing down with that tunneler, by the way, is going to be destructive if they are allowed to continue this pace of play. At the current moment, though, Dragon is up and available. It is going to be a Chemtech to play for to start. Not exactly the most impactful one to grab. Might be nice to just clear off the board. And TCK is kind of wandering into that range. Hook down on the bot side, though, as Bochi eats that up. Glacial Augment being utilized by Dory. Just trying to slow everyone down in this range.
Yeah, with the Jax, trying to salt that dragon is a little bit dangerous. You get really low on health and somebody walks by, you're probably going to give them a free leash as well as probably a kill. So TCK needs his lanes to back him up, but Genesis is just shoving and roaming. He's not even trying to trade with Little Moso, so TCK not comfortable to start that one up. Just drops the ward for now, and Wet Dog more than happy to continue farming. Got the XP lead, got the camp lead with those earlier days.
I don't know what went down, but Atsuo stuck under tower now thanks to that World Ender, and Meme Boy is showing what they did in game number 1 as well in the 1v1.
Well, overall, I'll tell you what went down. Atsuo's health bar.
Okay, that was good on the nose right there.
Both outs were traded though, so Public Execution kind of traded with the World Ender to come through, and Meme Boy again winning out, but yeah, so far Atsuo is still able to kind of farm and keep his threat levels up, his CS numbers up for now, and as long as he's there, as long as there's no dive threat, Wet Dog's going to feel very comfortable going, starting up that Drake, taking that off the table.
Like it. Go ahead, get started ASAP on the clearing of the marks. We always talk about a Kindred. We love seeing that the 4 mark point break is what we always love to call it. It's when a Kindred really feels like they had the range, like they had the damage to play with. It's going to work here, though, as the topside scuttle was the main one to play. Nice job by TCK to clear that one. Coverage all around, as it's a relatively quiet movements here. I don't think either jungler, outside of that bottom side pace, has really been explosive in their engagement. I mean, considering it's a Jackson Kindred, makes sense. You don't want to go crazy. Level 6 is on the bot side. Bochi and Compton, wondering if they go with.
For now, it's just been kind of laners trading with each other for the most part, and then the mid-jungle duo that we had originally expected coming to game 1, that we're seeing the trades happen. It's not so much the junglers roaming into the side lanes for now. Interestingly enough, Wet Dog starting this one up in full vision, knows that the scuttle vision is down there and doesn't care. He also note that the Hard Rockers actually didn't lane swap this time. They've been doing that to get the advantage, but right now they just feel like, hey, we're strong enough, we're fine, and most importantly, we know Meme Boys just went home.
Yeah, that's easy pickup, and also I think the whole reason is Wet Dog feels very confident that Genesis is in range. Here's going to be a taunt out, not really going to land. Atsuo is down here as well. It's going to be a 3v3. Maybe an arrow from across the map might be around, but Wet Dog has to flash away. It's still 2-1. Not bad. There's an arrow. There it lands. Might be a snipe. Public execution works. And they're going to knock up and tack up TCK. However, the wall-up comes about as Wet Dog picks up 1. Meme Boy, though, with the World Ender, is able to answer back. And Atsuo has no out. Is trying to run away. The weak doesn't land. You get to the blast cone and you're safe. Wet Dog now trying to jump away. Over the wall you go. It's 1-for-1 at the end of the day. However, Xayah, Sage burning away on the bot side. Dory now getting stunned up. Flash is available. Do you need it? But the ADCs are looking. Up goes the Featherstorm, and you win it. As that's 3 for the side of the Hurricanes as they juggle their way to the feet of warfare.
And it just became a range issue. Normally, Ashe outranges Xayah, but using the Featherstorm, a defensive tool, offensively to get that range of the Blade Call immediately to follow to find Compton. Hurricane, not happy with their loss last game. They're firing back in very, very clutch fashion. But I want to talk more about the top side overall, because I think that fight up top was the more interesting one. The way they layered the CC chains. TCK didn't get to Counter-Strike till very, very late in the fight, and most of the damage had come down by then. The CC layering from Hard Rockers was great, but the counter was excellent as well. Wet Dog not able to use the Lamb's Respite to keep Genesis alive, and I think that was a big kicker. If Lamb's Respite came down, Hard Rockers could have won that, but instead, the feats of warfare go the way of Hurricane.
Oh, Mean Boy is getting kited right now, but the kite is real for Mean Boys. Mean Boy says, yo, you're not allowed to do much more. However, they're going to gift over a kill to Wet Dog, so mission fails successfully? I don't know. Atsuo kind of walked the dog and the dog bit him back.
Arrow coming across, not quite able to find anything. It was close. And just is now TPing back into mid lane once again to pick up the farm.
Bot side, there is going to be a little bit of gain. TCK says, hey, you have no flash, you have no summoner spells. Gets a double knock. That's going to be a flash forward by Dory. Dory picks up 1. That is going to be Sage to hang on, but the Solar Flare is able to turn around, but just outside of tower range. Well timed by TCK, who's starting to answer back for Wet Dog, starting to farm the top side of the map.
Okay, and this is actually a very much needed sort of release valve for the bot lane, because if you look at the CS numbers, you can see Sage is still down. What was that, 14 CS? From how the laning phase was going. It was really, really rough for her. But now, you know, with these ganks down here, Sage has been able to pick up both those kills onto Compton. And for the Xayah, we kind of mentioned her in draft. The reason why she's so good here is because everybody's playing on short range and kind of playing into you. Wet Dog will eventually outrange you, but it does take time, and Compton's the only one who's kind of playing from safety. But if Sage can stay alive and survive the dives and pump out all that damage, she will probably be the main factor in these team fights to kind of swing things the way of the Hurricane.
I love watching Meme Boys right now. Meme Boys is having fun with this top lane. Like, Atsuo is playing in a Jigsaw-esque puzzle right now. Like, how close can I get to clearing the minions before I lose 60% of my HP? It is brutal to watch right now. Either way, though, it is something to see. Wards going out, though, as we do see a little bit of coverage here. Litimoso looking like the wrong side of the battlefield. Immediately gets chunked out, flashes out to safety, but you can only flash so far. Great scout of the week. The burn is too good. Ignite takes your life.
Last second with that kill, Dragon is now firmly in the favor of the Hard Rockers once again. They've had a lock on these objectives. The only thing they lost was a single Void Grub, and even that was kind of questionable since they overstayed their welcome. Dory has to be careful. If he overextends here, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow is ready to go, but no vision. Dory walks away scot-free.
That's not actually going to work because you're not across the map, which is what Compton is only looking for, by the way. All the arrows so far have been launched from bot lane into topside river, pretty much. So I think Dory's safe. As long as Dory stays within, I would say, like 600 units, I think you're good.
We'll see if somebody gives Compton the better. The arrow actually does land a little
like,
bit
dude,
closer.
look at it. Again, it's launched across the map, and it lands on the back of TCK. Compton for the win with the long-range arrow.
Can't fault him. American Sniper 2 fought, and that looks good on highlight reel when he keeps landing those consistently. Was it 2 for 3 so far?
No, 1 for... Oh, no, you're right. 2 for 3, and it actually landed on TCK on the early one, too.
Okay, so 3 for 4. Well,
yeah.
That's a good number. We'll wait for it to drop below 50-50 before we worry. Speaking of worry, though, I am worried for the top side. We talked about the fact that Atsuo this game is not on a neutralizer, is not on a champion who plays well from behind. And he was keeping up really well in the early game. But right now, had to kind of build a little bit sideways. Executioner's calling coming through, so no early Eclipse compared to the Sundered Sky Mean Boys has. That lane up top is getting real rough from Atsuo. Had to burn Flash and barely just survived Mean Boy looking at him funny under turret.
Really, though, our eyes are drawn to Wet Dog and Genesis, this battery that we want to watch accelerate and power this game overall. Wet Dog has actually gotten a lot of value on this top side, just trying to farm Meme Boy a little bit. Currently 3-0-2 with the Triforce in pocket, but how far are you actually going to farm when Meme Boy is so dang strong 2-1-1? Genesis, of course, having their own time. Out of mana here in the mid lane, but not really worried about it. Gonna go ahead and walk back, has the Merc Tread to hang on to. It's being well played overall, I think. I know we talked about Meme Boy just now, but as long as Wet Dog keeps farming, I really do see this top side as being more, does Meme Boy respect Wet Dog enough, or are we just going to see a difference there? Atsuo, though, recognizing that TCK has also been a little bit bullied in this game, so the two bully people just kind of like, can we get something out of it? Nah.
Yeah, unfortunately for TCK, I guess he can take the Jax off the top lane, but eventually he goes back, something like that.
Yeah, sure,
TCK
sure, yeah.
going there, not able to find anything. Actually going to start up the Herald, which to me feels a bit like a bold call, but the Hard Rockers, they're not aware. Like, they don't even know this is happening, or they'd be contesting it.
Really, they're all looking just for the kills.
There we go.
Mosa is actually getting caught. Solar Flare lands. Arrow whizzes by because I know that's where it's going to be fired. Compton sends his graces as it's a slaughter in favor of SDM. Dory flashing for their life, but it's destruction overall as the Hurricanes are deleted right around this Herald.
I remember, Orbital, when we were talking about Dragon. Oh, wait, hold on, Compton. Compton, does he know?
Compton's like, oh,
Okay.
oh, no.
Oh, but the Blade Call still lands, so good trade back and forth between Sage and Compton. So that's the problem for the Hurricanes. It's the same thing we talked about Dragon for TCK early. You can't solo it. And unfortunately for TCK, yes, he's got the Trinity Force, but Herald hits harder than First Dragon, so he ends up going kind of low. His team wasn't quite there to help him, and the Hard Rockers kind of get another free objective, and with this Herald, they can really look to accelerate the pace of the game. They've been doing well in the early game. If they can crack a turret, break the game open, make the lanes a bit more extended, given what we've seen from Compton so far in Genesis, longer lanes benefit this team when they're able to find more picks.
See if it works right now. There is a collision up on the top side. A couple tower shots, but the World Ender is popped. Atsuo is just trying to run for their life right now. Is able to wear down that timer. Another tower shot goes in. Atsuo, though, willing to dance it out because you have the clip currently available, plus the Executioner's Blade. And you can actually do some work. No public execution available, though.
Yeah, props to Atsuo. He's finally caught up and hit his power spike. But
Yeah.
I'm a little bit concerned for how long does he have that item advantage? Because once Meme Boy picks up second item, it feels like we're just right back to the bullying phase of the lane again.
That's a little bit true. I feel bad, though. Poor Atsuo's trying his best. But we are at that point in the game where both teams are kind of scattered around. Atsuo, though, really willing to kind of dip it in and out. By the way, we mentioned this before. Atsuo, kind of one of the players that that the team said was like, oh, you know, is a little bit weak, but willing to fight up at the pace, always willing to take a battle. Like, Atsuo has never shied away from trying to take a battle, even if it's a loss. Like, big credit there to this player right now, as that was another close call, you know. Maybe chose the wrong opponent, but...
I feel like we feel that way over. It kind of cuts both ways, right? Like, sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. Sometimes you don't want that fight. Genesis into the bot lane.
Well, that's the fight that you want. A triple taunt! What is going on here? Genesis flashing away from the Counter-Strike and is able to stay alive thanks to the Lamb's respite. What a snag, by the way. Blatant front and center TP.
Brute force in coming in from the Hard Rockers, and I like the call. This I might not like if TCK can find the kill onto Genesis and set the turnaround. Where's Wet Dog? He's got no more Lamb's respite.
Scatter the Weak is able to work, but a nice Seeker's Arm Guard keeps you safe. No Unleashed Power is going to take your life right now. Wet Dog is on the chase. Not going to happen, though, because Dragon is a little bit more available as Compton wins out against Sage. No safety, no value, no problem. As topside is all Meme Boys. All right, at least one lane's winning for the Hurricanes.
Well, I'm feeling pretty good about my call. We are seeing the rivers run red with blood right now all over the map. Non-stop action, and when all is said and done, kills in both lanes. But it's this Dragon that catches my eye, because it was the Hurricanes who, yes, they lost Dory on the dive, but they had the health bar advantage, they had the positional advantage, and if TCK didn't overchase, if he didn't get turned around on by Genesis and Wet Dog, this jungle mid duo we said was Hard Rockers' sort of bread and butter combo. They were the ones to carry. If not for that turn, that should have been a Hurricane Dragon. Instead, the Hard Rockers keep walking away with more and more advantages. Let's not forget, besides Soul Point, they still have Herald in pocket.
I hate the fact that that's true because the last two Heralds haven't really been effective in game number 1 and 2. If you remember, game 1 was negligible. I don't even think it took down a tower before game number 2 ran into the Weaver as well. This Herald number 3 could be an explosive way to crack the game wide open for the side of Hard Rockers if they're given a little bit of that space. Keep eyes on where Wet Dog decides to go. He's looking every which way. Angling out as Bochi is on the top side saying, I can cover you, Atsuo. I know you've been dying a few times, but I got your back, as Compton can apparently fend for themselves.
Fair enough, and given that Atakan about to spawn on that top side of the map, part of me would actually like to see Hard Rockers use Herald to crack top side. Mid's already primed enough that it's not that big a concern. If they can get that the top lane open a little bit more, it gives them access towards the Atakan. The downside for them, though, is that Atsuo, unfortunately, is not going to enjoy the 1v1 matchup anytime soon. Mean Boy has completed his second item. Shojin's there. Dory, do they know?
Dory didn't get tagged by
that's
the
clutch.
Zenith Blade. That Zenith Blade went just meters away. Same with that public execution. Dory is so lucky in that entire engagement. Got away from like 3 different insta-kill moments.
All platinum, I don't know.
Arrow. Oh, it went by. Again, listen, you're only in danger if you're not on Compton's screen. That's all I'm saying.
What a weird situation right now where both marksmen are just sat in the bot lane. Normally at 20 minutes, you want your AD carries with you to team fight. And frankly, I think Hard Rockets are okay with this. They have a secondary AD carry, and that is Wet Dog. 4-0-4 right now. Completed 2-item Mortal Reminder as well. Herald? Shelly's been dropped mid. She's not gonna make it, guys! Why?
We salute the poor Herald, who sacrificed their life not once, but twice for no gold. We salute you. I'm guessing time ran out on it, I think is the best thing to say. I think time ran out and they just didn't have a push angle.
That's so sad. And it's actually really, really good for the Hurricanes that they managed to do that. Because as we can see from the top side, Mean Boys already took that top auto turret. But just kind of stopping the Hard Rockers from being able to open up the map more, I think it's their biggest win. And the one place that is open is going to be the lane that is hardest for them to defend. Also, we talked about Atakan earlier. This gives Hurricanes better access. World Ender pop defensively really early.
I mean, I don't disagree with it, though. Mean Boys knows that they've been drawing so much aggro. They're currently 3-1-1. They have to recognize that they are going to be in the eyes of any of those CC moments. Really nice gather of the week, by the way. Linomoso, only 1 and 2 so far. Yes, you've died a few times, but the fact that you could have died a lot more if you didn't buffer that... we don't see Compton. All we see is an arrow going across. That's all I'm saying. Almost every single. At least you were
4 for 7
this
right
time.
now. He's hitting 50-50 soon.
It's just. All right, I'm gonna have to keep an arrow counter on the side of my screen or something. Like this is actually pretty good. However, Compton has finally left the bottom lane. Is active around the map.
And with that, Kraken Slayer as well could do work. Unfortunately,
Wait! This is why ADCs don't leave bottom lane. This is why ADCs don't leave bottom lane, guys. No, walk outside of the lane, Reston. You're okay for the moment. Here comes the rest of the team. The Avengers have arrived. How many do you get to hold on to? Dory will pay the price of taking the ADC's life, but is it actually worth? Compton's like, bro, I never want to leave bottom lane again. Just let me fire arrows at max range.
I love that you're screaming, this is why AD carries don't leave the bot lane, but they trade 1-for-1 when it's all said and done. Wet Dog able to get in there, proving it wrong. You know what? Wet Dog's an AD carry overall. He was hardly ever in bot lane.
That's true. I don't know. When I don't know. I give credit where credit is due. Compton has been trying their best at 1, 3, and 5, but it's just something about the jungler and support coming out of the woodworks the first time you put a foot into the mid lane. It's the rudest thing I've ever seen.
Funniest part is usually the mid lane's the safest lane because it's the shortest lane, and that's why marksmen get rotated there in the mid game. And there's like, come here, Compton, come to safety. You know, Genesis has been fine, right? He hasn't died. Oh, never mind, we tricked you.
It was a dredge line Counter-Strike depth charge into ignite, into everything you can count. They just really want to come to death. However, because those are all down right now, maybe there could be a turnaround. Genesis saying, I actually want to battle this out. Compton in range this time, but the counter-strike is out, and it's gone. Now they can battle once again. They've taken a little bit of time. Atsuo coming around the side, and it's Genesis to pick up one. Sonya's to hold you steady, and it's CC to do oblivion. It's Bean Boy's backside counter-strike. Doesn't really matter, as yet again it's Luminoso going, please don't kill me. An arrow on screen from Compton lands, and it's a double for the ADC, as it's 4 gone for Hurricanes, dragging in more to Hard Rockers.
Orbital, this is why AD carries leave your lane.
Okay,
Baiting
okay.
it all out. This was the big brain, mega brain play from Compton. They blew those ultimates. They blew those spells like you were calling, and it wasn't available for the fight. Meanwhile, what did the Hard Rockers lose? They lost Lamb's Respite, and they didn't even need it. Great layering of the CC, holding it back to be able to clean up. Only Sage kind of left alone, and Sage can't do anything as this Atakan falls, and the Hard Rockers are starting to run away with this game.
It's happening one more time. Last time as well, keep in mind, it was a slow-paced game. It took a while for them to reach this point. But note, RMC, Hard Rockers took all 4 dragons in a row. They gave nothing. They left no scraps. It has been destruction beyond destruction's depths. This is Genesis saying, I am getting my fill of battles, of kills, and saves in a single game right now, and there is not a dang thing you can do about it.
Yeah, let's talk about Genesis, because he comes in for game 3. He doesn't pick the carries he's known for. He's not on the hyperskiller, but he's got the highest kill participation. He has outstripped Wet Dog in terms of actually roaming and ganking the lanes. 13 kills out of 14 had some sort of involvement from Genesis. So this man is absolutely popping off. Now, my concern for Genesis is, how much longer is he going to remain effective? You look over to Linimoso, and Linimoso with the Syndra is continuing to scale up. 2 items completed already. Eventually, Syndra's going to hit the point where if you don't have a GA, if you don't have a Zhonya's, you're just going to die. He's just going to press R, and there is no outplay to that. So the scaling is still there for the Hurricanes if they can slow the game down a little bit more.
Of course, that's also if Linimoso is able to get some of those larger ticket items. Cosmic Drive plus the Blackfire Torch is, I wouldn't say a bad itemization or anything like that. It's just low damage output for the current moment. I want to see that Rabadon's. I want to see that burst damage come through as well. Because at the current moment, Genesis is able to clear it by miles with the itemization. But as you said, give it another 10 minutes, which we've already seen the games go 50 and 40 minutes. So I agree. We're going to have time. We are going to have time, but we need to see that proper itemization. However, right now, it's Meme Boys. Meme Boys this time getting picked on a little bit more, and World Ender is across the way. You flash into the arrow! Not like this! Compton, what a freaking menace! The rest of the team is getting collapsed on Hurricane. Watches as Genesis says, I am your end and your beginning. Poor Dory is lost in the woods without a backpack. Oh my lord, what is going on with the Hard Rockers? They're looking at Baron.
Atsuo hopping onto Sage as well in the mid lane. Backup's on its way, but Sage has been abandoned.
Genesis! You beautiful lad, saving your top laner. Hard Rockers are making this game look so freaking easy right now.
Saving over Atsuo was full health. Genesis was in there to try and steal the kill. No, I'm kidding. I mean, he did have to zone out TCK, which is well played from them. And we talked about it. Game 1, a 50-minute game. Or game 2, 40-minute game. Unfortunately, I don't think that Hard Rockers can end in 30, but at least they're looking at, they're accelerating the game once again. They are really speeding through this one. Early Baron take, early Atakan take, Soul already taken, and Elder is coming in 2.5 minutes around that 30-minute mark. Once they get Elder, things are gonna get real tough.
Meme Boy's pissed. Meme Boy is so pissed right now. Dude is like, Genesis, get the heck out of my lane. The rest of the team is here, so Genesis might have overextended his welcome. However, in the mid lane, they're chewing through everyone else. Genesis is here! Genesis says, what's up, guys? I brought the party to you in true Iron Man fashion. The Avengers have saved New York because they have secured every single kill. It is an ace for 0, as that is Hard Rockers to take the battle.
And Hard Rockers still have Baron. Double 80 carry. They're going to keep pushing it. Double TP. They are calling all 5. It's been. Are they trying to end before 30?
I think they can do it. They have the damage, they have the Baron, they have everything they could possibly want. Genesis has the base cracker as well. Extra damage on the back end. They're rushing, they're looking, and they're aiming for the close. They have 3 random caster minions, and they're ready to take the Nexus. RMC, it's GG as the Hard Rockers clean out this game 3.
Holy crap, they did it! From 50 minutes to 40 minutes to just under 30 minutes. 29 minutes, 4 seconds on the final game overall. Amazing from Hard Rocker Varsity. Congrats to them. And that okay, you know what? Elusive was great, but I see why Genesis is a starter.
The Hard Rockers stay undefeated here in Div number 3. We talked about the battle, and my God, by the way, University of Tulsa, the Hurricanes put up one hell of a battle. We have to give that to them. But they get knocked down by the true undisputed GOATs, and agreed. 100,000, 10,000%. Genesis came in and made that look silly. But every single member of the Hard Rockers looks so good. Outside of Atsuo, who still was kind of punching above his weight class, always willing to scrap at the drop of a hat. Where does this squad... I really don't see weaknesses in them now. Maybe just at their ability to close out. They look so clean from beginning to end in that game 3.
Yeah, and I think what impresses me the most for Hard Rocker was their clutch factor that came through.
Yeah.
Right? When they needed somebody to step up, somebody did step up, somebody did make things happen. Now, talking about Atsuo a little bit, I do want to highlight the fact that he's the lowest ranked member of that team at Plat 3. And he doesn't play like he's Plat 3. I mean, given that the average skill level in this division is like Emerald Diamond, yeah, sure, Atsuo did lose lane, but he's losing very gracefully in lane, and his investors still had a lot of impact later. Let's not forget that he was the one who found the angle onto Sage on that mid lane push and kind of pushed it out and kind of set up for that big Baron push, which ended up actually ending the game, albeit off another pick off the back end of that. So really, really well played from Hard Rocker Varsity as a whole. I think their teamwork will only continue to improve from here. Like I said, they did have some roster issues in the past. They're starting to click together. Everything seems to be just coming up roses right now for the squad.
Yep, South Dakota School of Mines and Technology, Rapid City, South Dakota. You guys absolutely crushed it today. I was very excited to watch here in the NECC, and hopefully everyone at home was as well. There's more action on the horizon as we have 2 more weeks of the regular season. Now, tomorrow will be Overwatch 2, so make sure to tune into that one as well. That'll be Halloween themed, and maybe we get to see some spooky frights around the way. However, big shout out to, of course, Wenzel's by Blue Light and Extron for making this broadcast possible, and we appreciate all of you viewers at home as well. My name is Orbital. With me is RMC. We have the ever so amazing Shivam and Chippy on the production side, and we'll see you all in the future.